But you at least were doing it, right? You knew that was the next thing to do. It's like these kids are so loud. Every damn serve, they're like, wait, what? What do we do? Oh, yeah, the basic thing is rotate. We can't do that. Unbelievable. All right, we have, Monica Adams, media legend that she is here in St. Louis. She was at, I knew her when she was doing the fitness show at KMOX, and we used to do these things back in the day. Darn it, I'm going to forget who sponsored this, and John Marshall was the guy that was involved. Remember when we did the dragon boat races? Oh, yeah. Fred, have you ever done that, Sue? You know what that is?
I do know what it is. Creve Coeur Lake.
Yeah, we did it at Creve Coeur Lake, and it's pretty interesting because you're on this like big canoe thing, but there's like 20 people on there, and it's a big deal in China, I guess, or somewhere over there. I'm sure it's a big deal in many places, but Monica, man, she was like a stud on our dragon boat team, and like we won the damn thing.
Wow.
And then she ditched out to another team, and then we never won it again. It was like the KMOX team completely fell apart. But I bring it up because she got in touch with me a couple of weeks ago about being a guest on her show, which is on streaming platforms, several streaming platforms, and she wants to talk about my return in the battle with anxiety. So I'm going to do that tomorrow morning at 7:00. I'm so happy, Sue, because the last time I ran into Monica, she was over by the Galleria at the Brentwood Plaza. And like the only thing in my mind when I'm thinking 7:00, because when she invited me, she said 7:00. I'm like, is that morning or evening? And it's morning, but she's like right over in the industrial park by Fenton. So literally,
it's not that far.
Very, very close. So that's a big relief. But she's going to join us for a little preview coming up at 4:04. Scott Jennings, the legend, the myth, the man. His new show on 97.1 FM Talk tonight, 5 hours from right now, he'll be on. He's going to join us next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, on the roads tonight, we do have a little bit of volume out there. If you are headed for the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge, let's say you're taking that into Illinois, there's a delay, and it looks like it may be a stall or an incident partway across the bridge. Road work causing a delay, westbound 5570 headed for 203. We've got southbound 55 slowing at Bates, and some moderate volume on southbound 270, mainly at Ladue Road at this hour, and then it gets better. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs, located in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. Barron Mirror Glass and Door. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We had a great conversation, I think it was on Thursday night, with Gary Rosenberger's son, Alex. Gary is the father. Alex is the son. It's a father and son team, and Alex was a guest. He's become a friend over the years. MasterCars Inc. is a great, great business in Granite City. It is not a used car dealership. They deal specifically with used cars, but high caliber, great quality used cars. In fact, if you have a used car that you're looking to sell, you're going to get a better deal selling it to MasterCars than you will trading it in or selling it to another dealership. They're going to give you top dollar if it's in great shape. You can trade it, of course, for a truck, for a vehicle, for a Corvette, for a Harley. They have all kinds of things on the lot right now. They're open every day from 9 to 6, except for Sunday. I think they close a little earlier on Saturday as well. But look, just reach them through the website at mastercarsinc.com. Tell them that I sent you over. If you're looking for any particular vehicle, this is what they really excel in, is sourcing vehicles. If you're looking for an everyday vehicle for you, for your kids, for anyone. And if you have something to trade, they'll take that as well. Awesome, awesome service and a great just buying experience overall. You're not going to get stuck in a finance office being asked to buy this package and that package, and they'll get you financed and have great deals along those lines as well. MasterCars Inc. They're in Granite City. Tell them that I sent you along. MasterCarsInc.com.
Start your day refreshed with a delicious breakfast sandwich deal from Quick Trip. Choose from classics like the sausage, egg, and cheese croissant, the ham, egg, and cheese biscuit, or the melty bacon, egg, and cheese grilled cheese. And get ready to really wake up because it comes with
any small Red Bull of your choice, all for $5. Woo! Let's go!
That's any breakfast sandwich.
Plus a Red Bull for just $5. Yeah!
QT.
More than a gas station.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
Now back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
I'd say this is a pretty exciting day because I love my friend Scott Jennings, and I'm so happy he's got a syndicated radio show. And we're going to air it here, 8 p.m. every weeknight on 97.1 FM Talk. And Jennings, tonight is the night for the debut. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. I'm very excited to be on the air in St. Louis, and even more excited to be your colleague. So I don't want any hazing in the jock locker room. I don't want any stunts. I don't want you to be pulling any rookie crap on me. Just
I would not do that. I would not do that. Yeah, you are on the team. But no, look, it's awesome. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The show's been on now for what, about 5 weeks that you've been doing on Salem?
Yeah, about 7 weeks now. Yep.
And let's talk about it in a second here. I want to preview it, but I want to start with this because according to the text messages I was getting from you and Senator Schmidt, you both had way too much fun in Iowa over the weekend, didn't you? I have a picture of you on a tractor, which looks you look very comfortable on the tractor, Jennings, I must say.
I'm just saying, Iowa was good to both of us. We went out to Iowa, Cedar Rapids on Saturday, Schmidt and I did, and we spoke for Ashley Hinson, who is the Congresswoman for Iowa's 2nd District. She's in a bit of a targeted district out there. We had a big crowd, and we spoke in front of some bales of hay, and then this guy comes up to me, and he's like, you got to come out and see my tractor. And so I go outside. It's all painted up red, white, and blue. It was a vintage tractor, so I was more than happy to jump up there and hang out on the tractor for a bit. That was actually my 3rd state. I was also in Michigan last week, and I also went to South Carolina. So made the rounds around the country last week.
So what happens in these circumstances? Are you just invited by the candidates and the camp, by the state party? How does that all work? Is there an organization to it all?
Well, yes, the candidates in this case invited me in all 3 cases. Actually, Hinson had invited both me and Eric Schmidt out there, and she was having a rally for herself. And then over in South Carolina, there was a congressman named Russell Fry, who's a great guy. And he invited me. And then up in Michigan, it was a congressman named Tom Barrett. So, I like to go where I'm invited. And I was invited to all 3 places. And in all 3 places, we had great crowds and had a lot of fun, too. And they had great barbecue out there in Iowa. So I'm actually going back to Iowa in a couple of weeks for another event. And then in September, I'm headlining a big dinner called the Faith and Freedom Banquet. So I'm becoming an honorary Iowan over the next 6 weeks,
yeah.
I think.
Most people who do that are running for president. You know that, right?
I know. That's what people tell me. We'll see what happens.
You gave me the script of a pretty good line you had about Hunter Biden. Would you like to deliver that? Because it got great response. Or would you like me to read it? I think it would be better if you deliver it this afternoon.
Well, I just told the crowd that after coming off of his stint as president of the United States last year, a lot of people were wondering what he was going to do, but it's okay because he's been hired to do some marketing for a national restaurant chain. And I asked the crowd if anybody goes to the new Crack Barrel. If they tell me how the food is, I'd love to hear it.
So that one killed, no doubt about it. Well, that's great that you're having fun on the road, but let's kind of get back to the radio show. We're going to air it tonight. 8 p.m. is your time slot here on 97.1 FM Talk. You do the show live at what time? Is it like noon?
I do it at 2 Eastern every day.
Okay,
so it'll be a few
1.
hours. It'll be a few hours old by the time you hear it in St. Louis. But what we try to do is a nice mixture of sort of news of the day, breaking news and comment. And then I usually have a pretty good interview every day. In fact, today's episode, which you'll hear tonight, is with Katie Miller. Katie has this new podcast called The Katie Miller Show. She's the wife of White House advisor Stephen Miller. Now, She's interesting. She worked in both Trump administrations. This spring, she was the Elon wrangler. So she was Elon's point person on the Doge effort while he was in the White House. I've known her for some time. She's a great person. She's just kind of been in the middle of everything. But anyway, she's got this new podcast out. So she's trying to do a thing where she talks to conservative women, and something we don't do a ton of in the Republican Party sometimes. So she's going to be out in the podcast space. So I brought her on to promote.
That would be a fascinating relationship. She has to have a lot of gravitas on her own to be in a marriage with Stephen Miller, the wordsmith that he is, because I would imagine get both those two going, it would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, this whole thing today was great. Katie is the kind of person who absolutely you're going to want to know. I mean, she knows everybody. She's been in the middle of everything. She's been very close advisor to the president, Elon. She worked at DHS in the first term, so she knows all these immigration issues. We actually talked about the Kilmer Abrego Garcia case today, so it's fascinating conversation. But that's what you're going to get every day. News, and then really a good conversation with a newsmaker.
All right, so let's talk about Abrego Garcia. You have this in the news. You had last week. I thought it was, and I know you had to talk about this on the CNN crew. You had everybody on board with this guy that was getting arrested and screaming out about he just wanted his family. He was documented. Then we found out, of course, that he was a child molester. So there was that, and you had some folks out there, including on Fox, who had to apologize for tweets. Jessica Tarlov got beat up quite a bit because they all ran with these images from D.C. with the guy screaming, think, oh, here we have our next Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And that didn't turn out so well for them.
No, look, they are I don't know why Democrats pick the worst heroes. They pick the worst martyrs. And Abrego Garcia, all year long, he has been a martyr and a hero for the left. He was in the country illegally 13 years. He had an adjudicated deportation order. There's strong evidence that he's in MS-13. He's facing federal charges for human trafficking in Tennessee. We know he had orders to stay away from his wife at one point, who said she was violently beaten by this guy. I mean, what else do you need to know that he should not be in the United States? What do Democrats do? They want to keep him here. They want this man on the street. He was released from jail on Friday. He was reacquired by ICE today. Now, ICE wants to, and the president want to send him to Uganda because he doesn't want to go to El Salvador, which is weird because that's where he's from. And now a federal judge has at least temporarily blocked them from his deportation to Uganda. I suspect he will be deported again finally. But it's amazing to me that Democrats are dying on all these immigration hills. The guy was here for 13 years illegally. He doesn't speak a lick of English. He's in MS-13. What else do you need to know? And why would you, even if he, I mean, take everything else aside. He's violent. He's in MS-13. What redeeming quality does he have that you would want him to be an immigrant to this country? Absolutely none.
Well, they favor, and it happens here in St. Louis on a regular basis, too. They do seem to love criminals and illegal migrants who are criminals as well. I put this up as a juxtaposition a couple of weeks ago. We do this here in St. Louis. I think it might have been the weekend that the Cubs were here in St. Louis, but they had like 800 people who went through the process of becoming American citizens up at Wrigley Field. Everyone's cheering them on. We do it here at Busch Stadium once a year. These are people who are proud to be Americans. They want to do well for their families, and they want to learn the language and assimilate and all these things. And nobody's opposed to that on the Republican side, but the Democrats still have this big issue with drawing the distinction between the word legal and illegal. And they do it still all the time, even not learning the lessons from last year's election. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Abrego Garcia is a perfect example of this. The media and the Democrats keep referring to him as, quote, Maryland father. He is not from Maryland. I'm sorry. He's from El Salvador. He came to the country illegally, and he may have landed in Maryland, but he's not from Maryland. He's not an American citizen. And the narrative that the left and the Democrats and the media all colluded on was to make you think that Trump had sent an American citizen away. He's not an American citizen. He's an illegal alien. He's a violent person. He had an adjudicated deportation order. He got due process. And they are fighting so hard to keep him here. They never fight for American citizens this hard. They fight harder for this guy than anything else. And I don't know. I think they're on the wrong side of it politically.
Look at this goofball who's been back in the news this weekend.
Think of how easy it would be to be a damn Republican. Oh, what should I wear today? This stupid freaking red hat. What should I say today? I don't know. Just make sure it's cruel.
It's pretty easy for me to understand how you're getting invites to go around the country and represent candidates. It's baffling to me how that guy gets invites to do anything, Tim Walz, but God bless him.
The biggest buffoon in modern American political history, but he encapsulates perfectly the modern Democrat. It is like a perfect mixture of buffoonery and mean-spiritedness. He is humorless. He is stupid, and he perfectly represents his party's brand right now. And because of him and people like him, that is why Democrats have a max 33% approval rating, and some polls it's as low as 19 or 20%. But the fact that Kamala Harris chose him to be vice president tells you all you need to know about their party, all you need to know about her decision-making, and all you need to know about how leaderless this party is. That buffoon is the best they have right now. It's going to be Republican victories as far as the eye can see.
What did you think? You brought up the differences in the parties and, these 80-20 issues, but there was some pretty interesting reporting late last week by Shane Goldmacher and others at the New York Times about the Democrat Party facing this, voter registration crisis. And if you dig into some of these states, including Pennsylvania, North Carolina, some of the states that certainly don't always go to Republicans, those numbers are pretty dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, when you pick as your pet issues or your pet constituencies, things like fighting really hard to put boys in girls' sports, to put boys in girls' locker rooms, to put boys in girls' bathrooms. When you fight harder for illegal aliens than you do for American citizens, when you adopt Hamas as just a misunderstood social group, that's what the Democrats have done. They seem to be fighting for all of these bizarro world constituencies, and none of it has to do with the average old American who just wants to get up, go to work, pay their taxes, play by the rules, make their life better, make their kids' life better. None of what I just said has anything to do with that. They also have no leaders, and to the extent they do have leaders, it's people like Waltz and Jasmine Crockett and AOC. These people are so out of touch with average Americans that, yes, people are fleeing the Democratic Party, and it's now obvious in the voter registration numbers all over the country. It's like a net swing of 5 million voters over the last 4 years. It's not a trickle. It's a huge stampede of people away from the Democrats and towards the Republicans, and it's pretty obvious to me why that is.
8 p.m. tonight, the very first Scott Jennings show on 97.1 FM Talk. He's been at it for weeks. We're picking up the show from 8 to 9 on weekdays. Jennings, have fun with it. Have a great week and a great Labor Day holiday. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, honored colleague.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad we're colleagues now. That's awesome. I know. It's amazing, isn't it? There he is, Scott Jennings.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Not a bad commute so far. Now, if you are just leaving the office, westbound 70 looks really good. Now, eastbound 70, as you head for the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge, it's backed up just to Salisbury. And on the Illinois side, we've got road work westbound 5570 between 111 and 203, and that's causing a delay. But if you're headed for the Poplar, things are fine. Southbound 55 is slowing, headed down toward Bates in the construction zone. Now, westbound 64, moderate volume, Hampton, out through McCausland. But we've got road work westbound 64 at the Boone Bridge, and that's causing a little delay out there. Also, some delays. Let's see, this is northbound 61. That's slow, starting around Highway P. And we've got an accident southbound south of W causing delays. This report is brought to you by Infinite Vitality. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Ready for real weight loss? Infinite Vitality helps you lose 8+ pounds a month with peptides like tirzepatide. Track fat loss with 3D imaging. 2 months for just $400. Mention Annie for a $50 credit. Infinite-Vitality.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Cutting through the spin. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know what a screw worm? That sounded different, didn't it?
That sounded different.
You know what that is?
No.
I'm going to tell you a little bit, I think, later this hour. There's been a screw worm outbreak. It's kind of like that weird thing, at the Lake of the Ozarks where the amoeba ate the dude and he died, which is
good.
No, that's not good at all. This
No.
is kind of like one of those deals. Phil Holloway will join us after Sue's News in the next hour. We'll talk about a bunch of different cases, including the Menendez brothers. After 5 o'clock tonight, we'll have John Ziegler, my friend from L.A., the co-host of the podcast, The Death of Journalism. One of the other issues we'll talk about in the 5 o'clock hour will be with John Anderson. John is running for the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate. Dick Durbin's not going to run again, so he probably doesn't have a chance to win, but he's still a candidate. And he was at that meeting last week in suburban Chicago near Schaumburg, which is a suburb that I'm familiar with because my mom and dad used to live right there in Rolling Meadows, and I grew up not too far from there before I moved to St. Louis. They had a trans volleyball player who is very controversial because he is like 6'3" and towers over the girls. And how this keeps happening, I don't know. But
ridiculous.
Our next guest knows that it happens on a regular basis. Sarah Parshall Perry, who's the vice president and legal fellow with the group Defending Education. Hi, Sarah. How are you this afternoon? Welcome back.
Well, I am glad to be back with you guys. And yeah, it's interesting because you would think now that the grown-ups are in the room and the administration's made very clear that men and women are to be separated in scholastic athletic endeavors, that people would be paying attention. And it's very clear also that this administration has no problem pulling federal funding for failure to comply with long-standing civil rights laws, specifically here, Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972, but we actually at our organization have instituted the first of its kind Title IX compliance tracker so that parents and grandparents, uncles and aunts can all go search their state and see what the actual policies are in the state. Now, some states are complying fully with presidential directive and federal civil rights law. Some have taken a piecemeal approach. They've gone the route of separating athletics, but then keeping their bathrooms open, which, by the way, you can't violate part of the law without violating all of the law. And I think the administration is going to be very keen to start taking closer looks at a lot of these schools. But we would think at this point, now that we are 8 months, almost 9 months into the administration with this new president, that we would see a return to sanity and common sense. It is shocking to me,
me too.
how intransigent this is going to be.
Yeah,
I'm shocked by it too. I really am. And then the other thing that really is disappointing to me, and this is nothing new, and you and I have probably talked about it, but whenever a case like that out of suburban Chicago, and maybe even the one that we're going to talk about, comes about, there's virtual crickets and silence in the majority of the media outside of the conservative media and the sports media. I mean, that's a pretty significant story, I think. And it's a story that people in this country have an interest in and parents have an interest in because they know it could help, certainly happen in their school district. But you don't get very many, regular legacy reporters who even want to touch those stories, which is shameful. Now, you guys just filed an amicus brief in something called Foote v. Ludlow. And I want to explain that, Sarah, that case and why this is important as well. And it's something I think that's relatable throughout the country.
Yeah, this is a huge problem in American public schools. These are gender secrecy policies that actually mix parents' involvement completely out of the equation in public school. If a child comes to an administrator or teacher and says, I think I was born in the wrong body, I don't have comfort in my biological sex, maybe I'm transgender. If a teacher or administrator learns that information, these particular policies, which by the way are in 1,300 school districts across the country, and that means 12.5 million public school kids are subject to these express policies, that information will be hidden from his or her custodial parents. But the problem is more aggravated because we've seen this actually go up to the Supreme Court, 2 cases, one out of the 7th Circuit and one out of the 4th Circuit. And the Supreme Court declined to take up parental rights challenges based on the lack of constitutionality of these policies. They said it's an interference with 100-year-old recognized Supreme Court rights to direct our children's own educational upbringing and inculcation of our values. The Supreme Court didn't want to touch it. Maybe it was a hot potato. Maybe it was a standing issue. We know they got to gender identity in the big Scarametti so-called gender-affirming care case. But Justice Alito wrote a barn burner of a dissent from denial of cert, in which he said, this is an issue of growing national importance that we cannot afford to long ignore. Well, Foote versus Ludlow is yet another one of those cases. This time, it comes out of the First Circuit, and we were the first in with our amicus brief to make sure that we had a stake in the claim, because our parents, too, are terrified that their children are going to be essentially separated from them.
Well, they should be, right? Sarah Parshall Perry is here. She's the Vice President Legal Fellow with the group Defending Education. So tell the story of Stephen Foote and Marissa Silvestri. This is horrifying. Look, I have a 10-year-old daughter. They learned that their 11-year-old daughter was experiencing depression. She was questioning her gender identity. The parents hire a counselor to help her. They tell the school district they're getting their daughter mental help, but the school district they go rogue, right?
Completely rogue. In fact, this is not just a passive interference with parental rights. This is an active interference, because they actually knew that the parents were already getting outside mental health counseling and psychiatric interventions for this minor child. They knew it, and they involved themselves anyway. And it was only because they discovered a different name scribbled across the top of one of their assignments, one of their daughter's assignments, did they suddenly realize they're actually running this game behind our back. I mean, you want to talk about the hubris of school administrators and educators thinking that they actually own America's children. It does not get more chilling than this.
Well, yeah, and there's a pattern for this that exists, and we've had some incidents here in St. Louis which have matched up. But in this particular case, you might even have to help me with some of the pronunciations. So what you guys wrote up here is that they disregard the explicit instructions and they decide to socially transition. Again, this is an 11-year-old kid. So they meet with her. They encourage her to, quote, transition to gender queer with a male name and non-binary pronouns. This is where I need the help with pronunciation, because they're like, some of these, honestly, Sarah, I think I've seen all these, but then I haven't. It's like F-A-E. What is that? Faye? Faye-Ray?
Faye is a made-up pronoun that the gender evangelists like to say is representative of an individual who doesn't necessarily associate with female pronouns, male pronouns. So it's more for the, I'm using giant air quotes here because we know, Mark, that this is all made up anyway.
Right. Well, that's true.
This is a non-binary set of pronouns. So you want to talk about just mental illness rearing its ugly head in American education. They're actually creating a new lexicon for children to be able to identify as gender divergent. It's unconscionable, but it goes to show you that this is not a passive intervention. It's not sitting back and letting a child kind of develop the way that they want without interfering with parental rights. It is active obfuscation. And what's more is that the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, also known as WPATH, and these are the bad guys, right? They are an absolute political machine. They have actually said in their own literature, social transitioning, in other words, new name, new pronoun, new dress code, new bathroom use, that is the first key to getting these kids medically transitioned. So that just proves to us exactly how nefarious this is. This is not a neutral intervention.
Some of this stuff is nuts. So the mother and the father beg the school district for help, but they won't even do that. And they're basically describing what the parents did as thinly veiled camouflage for intolerance, prejudice, and bigotry against LGBTQ individuals. This kind of matches up a little bit with one of the stories last week. I'm sure you're familiar with it in Loudoun County. And Sarah, I don't know what it is about Loudoun County with all these stories where you have these boys, and this was sort of a little bit of a reverse situation where there was a biological girl who was in the locker room who was recording them, should not have been doing that. She was the one that was actually literally breaking the law, but this gets flipped on its head, and then the boys are in trouble and they get hit with accusations of, hate crimes or whatever comes along with this. It's just unbelievable. It's upside down.
No, it's completely upside down. And Northern Virginia was really ground zero for gender experimentation and sort of social transitioning, right? It was one of the first school districts in the country. And remember, the top 5 Northern Virginia school districts, Loudoun, Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax, Manassas, these are 5 of the biggest school districts in the country. So where they go is an indication of exactly where public education on the whole is going to go. Now, thankfully, the Department of Education has decided that they are going to step up to the plate and they are going to hold these 5 school districts who maintain these policies, not only socially transitioning children, but maintaining gender neutral bathrooms and maintaining gender neutral sports teams. And they're going to take them essentially to the woodshed. You cannot accept federal funding and violate federal civil rights law. The way it works is in the nature of a contract between the federal government and the state education recipients. And every year, SEAs, state educational associations, like a Department of Public Instruction or a superintendent of schools, have to file a form certifying their adherence to longstanding federal civil rights laws that are enforced by Department of Ed. They break that certification, they lose federal funding, and this administration's already proven it's willing to do that.
We've had school in session here for a week in St. Louis, and I was trying to locate the picture of this. There was a local school that the first thing that you saw when you walked in was all this gender nonsense, like big posters about binary, non-binary, all this other stuff. I was told here, it says, and I guess this was in there from, last year, the 7th grade halls of Parkway Southwest Middle School, and all the words that greet them, like pride, transgender, bigender, non-binary, almond sexual. That was a new one for me. Pansexual, lesbian, omnisexual, gay pride, agender. These are 7th graders. I mean, essentially not too much older than 11. And that's the priority. Now, I was told that did come down. But again, the Alphabet Mafia has total control over some of this stuff in schools, and it seems to be getting younger and younger. Sarah Parshall Perry, always great to have you on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, well, it looks like we've got some volume on southbound 55, and that, of course, is headed down toward Bates. That's all part of the road work, and that really causes delays. Now, if you're westbound on 6440, there really is a jam at the Boone Bridge. And this is all due to road work, but boy, is it lined up. So if you're headed out there, it's bad. 70 looks great. So if you want to choose or have a choice, take 70. It looks fine across the Blanchette Bridge, just a little moderate volume at Wentzville. Now, we also have some volume on southbound 270. It kind of stretches from Page down through 40, and then it looks better. On the Illinois side, westbound 5570, slow between 111 and 203. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Scott Jennings here. I'm excited to be part of the St. Louis conservative conversation, cutting through the noise with unfiltered common sense.
Scott Jennings, St. Louis conservative, on 97.1 FM Talk.
Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Learn more at MissouriBrushControl.com. Missouri Brush Control is helping landowners reclaim their property, manage vegetation, and clear land for better views. Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Missouri Brush Control, making acreage great again. Visit MissouriBrushControl.com.
If you're on the cusp of retirement, if you're looking at retirement maybe being off in the distant future, I want to guide you into some help here with the Retirement Advisor Group. You can pick up the phone right now and call 314-993-9494. Thomas or one of the team members would be happy to help you up with a one-on-one appointment to learn a different income strategy maybe than you're used to. They deal with wealth management, annuities, investments, any kind of IRA or 401k rollovers. They make sure that they protect the assets that you have so you can live into the retirement that you always have wanted. They'll talk about life insurance, tax-efficient strategies, long-term care strategies, and it's real easy to go into the office one-on-one. They'll give you a free copy of their book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. All you got to do is go to the website and take the next step. They'll get you into the office right away, or you can wait for our next seminar, which is coming up, I think, in September. But in the meantime, skip that line. Go right in. RetirementKey.com for the official financial planners of this show, Thomas Helbig, and the Retirement Advisory Group.
I'm Dr. Nick Barnes at Health From Within Family Chiropractic in Rock Hill. At Health From Within, our mission is to transform the way you manage your health by bringing you the truth about health and healing. We use proven techniques to remove interference in the nervous system and maximize health naturally, without drugs or surgery. Connect with me at healthfromwithinstl.com and join me for Maximize Living on this station every Sunday at 8 a.m. or download the Maximize Living podcast, healthfromwithinstl.com.
If you're a homeowner or renter and you sustain damage to your home or personal property from the May 16th tornado and storms, you can apply for FEMA disaster assistance. The deadline to apply is Tuesday, August 26th. You can apply by visiting a disaster recovery center at Union Tabernacle MB Church or the Urban League's Entrepreneurship and Women's Business Center in the city of St. Louis by calling the FEMA helpline at 1-800-621-3362 or visit disasterassistance.gov.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com. That's Viking.com. Viking.com.
Back to Mark Reardon, because someone's got to say it out loud. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, Sue's News for a Monday coming up after the top of the hour. Every once in a while, I get an inquiry, Sue, if you will, via email. Sometimes these come in the form of letters in the mail. But I had one last week that I kind of wanted to respond to. And it was someone who had left a voicemail a few weeks ago. And I actually called them back. Sometimes these things get forwarded to me from whoever answers them, because I don't really have a voicemail that I check here at work. So when one comes into, I think it's like the general mailbox, they forward it to me. So I didn't know what this person was interested in. I always try to respond to the listeners. And then she had said she was going to send me an email. And I remembered that I didn't think I had gotten an email. So I reached out and said, hey, just making sure I didn't miss something. But this is someone, I won't name her name, but she wrote out, I can use her first name, Sally, says, hey, thank you for responding to my inquiry several weeks ago. As I told you, there were many ideas swirling in my head in response to you providing me your email. But as the days change, so does my latest concern about the Trump administration. So she goes, it's best to start in the beginning. I was listening to your broadcast on KMOX on January 6th. Likely it was probably the day after. Maybe it was January 6th, but I had interviewed Josh Hawley in the ensuing aftermath of January 6th. So she says you were very upset, and I was, and I guess not getting much support from your listeners. I emailed you and I told you that I did not always agree with your political views, but I 100% supported your sadness and disappointment for what was unfolding on January 6th. You emailed me back right away and thanked me for my support, as not that many of your listeners were agreeing with what you were feeling that day. So she says that day was a line in the sand for me, but I have to inquire why it was not a line in the sand for you. In other words, for me. I have heard you over the years after you've moved from KMOX to supporting Trump. How can that be after January 6th? In closing, I will add, I'm not a crazy liberal that supported Biden or Harris 100%. Okay, 100%. But you still kind of support. I'm a white woman that lives in South County. I'm Catholic, patriotic. I hate the so-called MAGA Christians acting as if they're the only people that are God-fearing and patriotic. What hypocrite, she says, I would love to hear from you on how you evolved with your support for Trump. Our paths definitely split after January 6th. And she said, thanks for your time, Sally. Now, hopefully she is still listening. It was a decent question, right? So I took a couple of days and I did respond to this, because it's a question that does come up. And for those people who have been with the show for an amount of time, they will know that I went from, certainly in 2016, not seeing a path that Trump could win. And that was an electoral path. In other words, I didn't think he could win the states that would, vault him into the White House. I thought Hillary would win, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, the so-called blue wall. But then if you go to 2020, I did vote for Trump, and I supported Trump because I thought that there were two choices and two paths moving forward, as horrified as I was about January 6th. So I responded to Sally this way. I said, I know a lot of people who say the same thing as you, that January 6th was the line in the sand. I hated it, and I certainly didn't like Josh Hawley's response to me, which is, by the way, why he's never spoken to me since. And this is just being, keeping it real here, right? Everyone's got their own reasons, and maybe we all get into a situation sometimes where psychologically we're horrified by something, and then, time passes and you start to more. Well, right. And you probably, one thing that I would say too, that I didn't include in this response, is the way that some of the January 6ers were treated, compared to how ordinary people would be treated, I thought was outrageous. Now, some of them certainly deserve to be punished for their crimes, and I think that they were, but I do think that there was a clear pattern of over punishment based on, what happened that day. So I said to Sally, I said, a bigger dividing line for me was the direction of the country. And with apologies, but seeing literally millions of illegals cross the border, crime rampant, Dems identity politics BS. I used a little profanity in here. I have to be careful when I read it back here. The fact that they would have raised taxes on every single person in this country, that's still like one of the best kept secrets of the election. Nobody ever pressed Harris on this or Biden. Hey, if you win, you're going to raise taxes on everyone. They got away with that. And this is important for me. It really is. And that they would be in charge of our country's 250th birthday celebration. The latter part, I said, made me sick to my stomach. It really did. Biden was not only a joke, but he wasn't even awake half the time. That's 4 years of that and 4 years of the media covering it up. For me, Sue, I said all of this far eclipses any horrors of January 6th. And I can also throw in everything that happened, with George Floyd in the rioting, because that happened in 2020, right?
Right.
In that summer. And there were so many things. And really, for me, it always comes back to the media complicity, which is stunning. And that's what I said to her. I said, the media complicity with all this is stunning. On that front, I can simply focus on the way that COVID was handled by the legacy media. Hall of Fame level journalistic malpractice. And now we have all these kids that are suffering. But I have to shout the all caps like George Gray did the other day. But they even managed to surpass their own low bar in the way that they refused to cover the truth about Biden. So think about that. They lied about a lot of different things. You want to go back to, Mike Brown here, you can certainly do that. Certainly what happened with George Floyd, so much dishonesty. Watch the fall of Minneapolis. So many lies about that. And I said to Sally, I said, the legacy media lies so much. I can't deal with that with someone like Harris or freaking Tim Walz in charge. Not a chance. What a clown show. So I said, I'll take, quote, fascism. I put that in quotes any day, because that allegation is laughable and dishonest. So I closed by saying Trump is still full of, blank on a lot of stuff. He exaggerates. All of that is true. Yesterday alone, though, I think when I wrote this was Friday, he sat for almost 2 hours with the Washington Press Corps and just answered questions. I saw more yesterday than in 4 years of Biden doing something similar. Same thing happened today. I mean, he had 3 different occasions where he was sitting there, answering questions. And I don't agree with everything he does. I don't like the flag thing today. But again, I do think that there's some nuance to that. So what I said, and, I had Jennings on earlier this hour. I think that he's in the same camp. J.D. Vance is in the same camp. There are people out there that evolve. Now, was it that we bent the knee? Because some people look at it that way. I'm guessing Sally looks at it that I bent the knee on Trump. I'm just being who I am. And a lot of people, I think, accused me of doing things for, my own political reasons. I'm just calling it the way I see it. And there were so many things that happened from, Brett Kavanaugh's hearings to the Covington Catholic kids, all of those things. So I said, I'm comfortable with my evolution for many reasons listed above, and beyond a lot of people who hate him in the past have done the same thing. Too much important blank on the line. I thanked her for taking time to write, and I hope that answered the question, and maybe answered the question for other listeners as well. So there you go.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a stall now in the construction zone on westbound 6440 at the Missouri River. So right there at the Boone Bridge. And it has created a parking lot jam behind it. In fact, it's back past Long Road. If you have an option, you could take 70. 70 westbound is fine. There was some moderate volume at Jennings Station Road, and then it opens up. Northbound 170, a little slow at 70. And 6440 westbound, moderate volume Kings Highway out past McCausland, slowing again at 270. And northbound 55, slow headed for the Poplar. Southbound slow at Bates. And on the Illinois side, heavy traffic westbound 5570 between 111 and 203. And eastbound between 157 and 159. This report is brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I want to guide you into some great, family law services in case you need help in that particular area. It goes beyond divorce, by the way. A family law attorney can handle a lot of different things related to kids, domestic partnerships, any kind of domestic violence. There are post-divorce issues like modifications. I was naive to think that when the date came for getting my kids off child support, it would just magically disappear from my, paycheck, or rather the money would magically reappear. It did not. You had to go in, and a judge had to make sure that was taken care of. You can always, be in situations where you have to modify a custody or a parenting plan. And there are requirements in Missouri. Each state is different, but there's substantial change in circumstances requirements for that kind of modification. But Susan and her team can help you out with all that. So whether it's child support modification or spousal support modification, all those issues can come up in the aftermath of the end of a marriage. Call Susan and her team. They can help you. 314-783-9400. The website at a new office in De Pere, brand new spanking office at 270 in Manchester, stlfamilylaw.com. The focus on family law and the emphasis on you.
While you start to think spring, that might mean a move is in your future. But the question is, when is the right time to buy? Well, I go to my friend Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage to ask that question. Stewie, how do buyers beat the competition when they're looking to buy a new home?
All right, Annie, we're going to give you 3 big bullets. Number 1, get the bagel loan, no closing costs. If you don't have to pay those closing costs, add it to the bid. You'll beat all the other offers. Number 2, tell the seller you're going to close in 10 days. 10 days. Most lenders take 30 days just to get the loan approved. He's going to take your offer over everybody else's right away. Number 3, we give you the power of the pre-approval in your hands. You can access our portal anytime you want and generate your own pre-approval letter. Don't wait for the lender. You can make it happen yourself.
Well, the smart move starts by calling or texting my friend Stewie at 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. He just gave you those 3 tips to smart buying to beat the competition. Google the bagel loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Sitting with South Korea. I'm John Saucier, Fox News. President Trump trying to put together another summit between South Korea and North Korea. Fox's Aaron Halpern reports from the White House.
President Trump says he looks forward to another meeting with North Korean's authoritarian leader Kim Jong-un. The two held a pair of summits during the president's first term.
I get along with him really well. I think he has a country of great potential, tremendous potential.
President Trump spoke about a future meeting with Kim as he welcomed South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung to the White House.
You know, we really sort of need each other. We love what they do. We love their product. We love their ships. We love a lot of the things that they make.
The two leaders are expected to finalize a trade agreement that would see tariffs on South Korean goods lowered. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Salvadorian migrant Kilmar Brego Garcia has been arrested by ICE officials after he arrived for a check-in at the agency's field office in Baltimore, Maryland. He was planning on being sent to a third-party country like Uganda. Fox's David Spunt is at the scene with the latest.
His friends and family insist he's a Maryland husband, father, and a good person. The government says he's MS-13, a notorious gang member from El Salvador living here illegally. He was out of prison awaiting trial in Tennessee for human smuggling charges. About 150 supporters came out to Baltimore for a 6:30 a.m. rally to support Abrego Garcia. DHS officials have indicated Uganda is in his future. A judge previously said he couldn't be deported to his home country over fear of gang violence, but he's facing these human smuggling charges in Tennessee. He was brought back here. His case has risen above all others, primarily because he was deported to El Salvador, not only by mistake, but without a court hearing.
And again, Fox's David Spunt. ICE officials notified Abrego Garcia's attorney after he was released from prison on Friday that they were planning on sending him to Uganda. America's listening to Fox News.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Hard to believe it is the last full week of August on this Monday afternoon. It's wonderful. Mostly sunny skies, low temperatures, low humidities for this time of year. 77 for the high. Tonight, clear skies. We drop through the 70s for evening plans. 58 for the overnight low. Tuesday, sunshine, still great. 77, 55 Tuesday night. Wednesday, sunny and 79. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Mark Reardon Show on a Monday afternoon as we take you into a week with much nicer weather. How about the weather this weekend?
Sweet.
Is it just me, or does it seem like, I know it's almost September and Labor Day is a week from today. It seems like the leaves are already falling off more trees.
I saw that today. Like
Yeah.
a half tree, like a maple was half red, and I thought, dang, that seems early.
Seems early to me too, but I'll take the more mild temperatures for sure. I was even dabbling with turning the air conditioner off for a stretch yesterday. Let's see, what are we looking at? I didn't check the week because it always changes. 78 for tomorrow. Very slight chance of rain. 80 for Wednesday, 79 for Thursday. But more importantly, every single day this week, all the way up until next Monday, in theory, the temperatures are going down to the 50s. In fact, tonight it'll be 52 degrees. That's pretty chilly. Hey, tomorrow morning I have to get up early. I'm going to be, Monica Adams is someone I've known in media, maybe some of you have known for a long time, who had a fitness show at KMOX when I met her years ago. She was at Fox 2. She's now doing independent journalism. She's with us this afternoon to talk about my appearance on her show. Is it fair to say like independent journalism, or is that not an appropriate tag? How are you?
I like that. Okay. How are you?
Yeah, you've kind of gone rogue and you're doing your own thing. Yes, exactly. So you reached out to me a couple of weeks ago when I kind of, made a return trip here after being off for several weeks with, and I've gotten into some details with the audience, but never gone on too long about the anxiety and depression. So you invited me to be a part of your show. And Fred, she says 7:00. I'm like, okay, yeah. Is that evening or is that AM or PM? That's the number, but it's tomorrow morning. But here's the greatest thing. Honestly, Monica, I thought that you were doing, I think at one point you were doing this show from over in Brentwood at the Galleria, right? I ran into you one time when I was over there meeting with somebody, and now you're almost just around the block from me in Fenton in that industrial area that's not too far from Merritt's. If I didn't have a road closing right by my house, which I bitch about on a regular basis, it would literally take me about 7 minutes to get there, but it might be 15. But what am I going? I'm not even going to ask you to describe to the audience. I'm going to say, describe to me what I'm going to do tomorrow morning.
Well, I love the fact that you are raw. The biggest thing about this show is it's called The Real Monica Adams because I want people to be authentic. And when you posted that, I thought, well, this is perfect because in the 2.5 years since I left Channel 5, it has been a lot of men and a lot of women in the chair feeling like they can just let go and they can be themselves. And then suddenly they are inspiring others that are going through something very similar. And mental health obviously has taken prevalence since the pandemic and more people are talking about it now. And I appreciated that. And I've actually had a really good response from the viewers that have said, I can't wait for Mark to be on and for the two of you to sit down and to really hear his story and to be empathetic and to be there and to say, I've experienced the same. Mark, thank you for being so real.
Well, that's awesome. And that's one of the goals. And that's why up until, all this kind of reoccurred in May, and, my team here knows this, Sue and Fred, they've heard me over the years talk about this because I experienced this back in 2013 and 2014. And at that point, I didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew what was going on. And I was hiding it and I'd lost a lot of weight at the time and it was really interfering with my life. So I had, at least when this happened, it wasn't a complete mystery just because I knew that it was the same feeling. But yeah, I got whacked pretty good. And it was really 3 months before I started feeling, and the word that I would use is normal. But I will explain all this and you can ask questions tomorrow morning. There's a video aspect to this, right? This isn't just audio.
Absolutely. That was the biggest thing. I wanted to take all my years of TV and all my years of radio and put what I thought was some of the best of it. And so it's very visual as well as interactive, just like people calling into radio. They're commenting, typing in, asking questions, and then it's on 7 different platforms for people to watch live. So Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, Rumble, LinkedIn, and Twitch.
All of those things like at the same time. Huh? I didn't realize that. So that's a lot of exposure. So how long are we going to go? Like 3-4 hours tomorrow? How long is this going to be?
As long as you want. I just have to get to an appointment by lunchtime.
Do you vary the time? Do you not try to, keep it at a certain amount of time?
It usually is an hour, but we've done some. I mean, obviously, if you've got people that are on and they're asking questions, why go away from it? So we've done an hour 15, hour half, hour 52, I think, an hour and 52 minutes, I think, is the longest that we've done. But then obviously anybody that can't catch it live, I mean, that's the beauty of streaming, that it's there forever afterwards. So I like having what I consider to be 2 different audiences. So that those people that want to ask the questions while we're on, they are diehards and they're up at 7 o'clock with their coffee, tea, and I better be there. They're already clamoring at 7 o'clock. Where is she? I'm coming.
Well,
hold on a second.
I just have to inform you. I don't think the, my agents have informed you of this or anything like that. Here's the main challenge that I have for tomorrow morning.
Let me
Fred,
guess.
you already know what it is. Right. Go ahead and tell her.
Urinary.
Yes, because I crank Diet Cokes, and unfortunately I've kind of back to maybe closer to my old habit on Diet Coke. So there's not a chance in hell that I can go for like 90 minutes without having to get up and pee. So you may have to take a break and fill a couple of minutes. I can run quickly down the hallway, but I'm just being honest with you. I told Eric,
we take breaks.
Okay, good. Because I told Eric Schmidt, I said, if he ever becomes president and he nominates me, because I'm sure he will, like to ambassador of some country, I said, he doesn't have to worry. I'll never get confirmed because I could never sit there in front of an audience for that long without having to take a pee break. So I'm just being honest, just being candid.
Well, I know you interviewed a lot of entertainers and you did movies like I did for Channel 5. So did you always have to get up when you were, I'll ask you this tomorrow, when you had to go and review movies?
No.
Did you not get a chance to see the entire movie?
What's funny about that, there actually, you can ask me that tomorrow. And people would vouch for this who I used to go to screenings with, because the screenings would take place either, as you know, Monica, in the morning, sometimes like 9, 10 in the morning, or in the evening at, 7 o'clock. The morning screenings were the deal because I'm not cranking the Diet Coke in the evenings. I can sit through 2 or 3 hours, but man, you get me going in the morning and that's a challenge. So I'm just being honest with the audience. If I do disappear, I know this is an uncomfortable topic. Sue's probably rolling her eyes right now. You're talking about Mark's bladder for like 5 minutes. That's awesome. But I'm just giving you, a heads up for tomorrow if I disappear for a couple of minutes.
Monica, we do have a show coming up about incontinence, by the way.
Oh, great.
Well, it's a 2
not one for me.
Monica, how many people do you have as viewers? I mean, how good should he look? You know what I'm saying? How many people
You
will be
better look
watching?
amazing. We look. This is Facebook alone. Every 90 days, we reach 750,000 to 1 million.
I don't even shower laterally. Man. I guess I got to shower, right? And
Comb your hair.
I have to
Dang
do
it.
the product in the hair. Can I wear a hat? Because usually I'm wearing a hat at that time.
You
I might have
can't.
to do the hair. All right, we'll
You-
see.
You do your hair, because if you have a hat on, it's going to put a. I don't like the fact that we'll have to change the lighting.
No, I'll do the hair for sure. Will I have a makeup artist present?
Yeah, that's me.
I'll take it. I will take that because that was, you mentioned the Hollywood days. I have no shame in telling you that one of my
You wear
favorite
makeup.
things about going to Hollywood was my makeup artist, because when you have a good makeup artist, it doesn't look like you have makeup on, right? And they
Here's
can
what
take
you'll love.
the dark
The
circles,
lighting
etc.
is amazing, Mark. The lighting, I'm serious. I was, when I left, so yes, you and I ran into each other when I was at University Club Tower, and I moved over in February to Adventure Unknown in Fenton. And the lighting was the key. The sound and the lighting I worked on for about a month and a half with this guy that was brilliant. So it has a very national look to it. So
Okay.
that you will be happy about.
I will look my best. I will be there on time. I'm so excited. I'm telling you, when I finally looked at the address from where I was going, because I never look at these things in advance, there would have been a good chance that I could have just driven over there to Brentwood and not even thought about it. That's kind of something that fits my pattern. But when I saw you right over there in Fenton, that made me very happy because I don't have to get up quite as early. So I look forward to it.
That's why I stress.
Yes, we will have a great conversation tomorrow morning. I will try to put enough product in the hair to make it look presentable. How's that?
It sounds good.
All
And
right.
Sue and Fred, so good to talk to you as well.
And then just one more time, tell folks where they can find this tomorrow morning if they want to check it out.
Absolutely. So 7 a.m. we'll go live. You'll be on with me right about 10 or quarter after till about 8 or 8:15. And it is called The Real Monica Adams Show on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, Rumble, LinkedIn, and Twitch on any of those platforms.
We'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll try only to do one Diet Coke before I see you. How's that?
Sounds perfect.
All right. See you, Monica. Thank you.
Bye.
We got
Thank
Sue's
you.
News coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a jam at the Boone Bridge. Now, if that is part of your commute, of course, there's road work out there. Well, there's also a stall, and that really has created a delay behind it. So westbound 6440 is just a parking lot back past Long Road. Now, if you're thinking, gosh, should I take 70 or 40? Take 70. 70 looks fine out of downtown. Now, there's some volume on southbound 270, and that's from Olive down through Ladue Road. We've got an accident reported southbound 170 a little north of Del Mar. That's created a jam. And 55 southbound slowing on the right at Bates in the construction zone. On the Illinois side, 5570 westbound. Slow as you approach 203 and eastbound just east of 157. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So many great reviews. If you go to igotfloor.com, Michael's flooring outlet, you can see all the reviews either from the specific location that you might be dealing with or all of the stores. And I can tell you that I left a rave review from Mike and the team after they worked with me last year. The techs are great. The folks who are going to guide you into the products are amazing. The team that will come into your home that will make sure they take great care of you, all of that is very, very consistent. Now, these are top-notch professionals with experience in the carpet and the flooring industry, and they got you covered with all kinds of different products, whether you're looking for carpet tile, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, natural stone, glass tile. They have all kinds of things that you can do on the website for inspiration. You want to visualize what your room will look like with certain products, or just look at some of the galleries that they have up there. Those give you some cool inspiration as well. And if you're not finding what you're looking for, well, that's when you maybe take a step in to one of the 3 locations. They're open 6 days a week from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, 9 to 7 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. They are closed on Sunday. A great location in Old Town St. Peter's. They're in Darden Prairie and in Creve Coeur on Olive. And the website, igotfloor.com for Michael's Flooring Outlet.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Every week on the Moth Podcast, we share stories that are funny, strange, heartbreaking, and above all, true.
I myself have been married for 56 years. Unfortunately, to 4 different women.
It turns out the people I was looking for all my life is what you people would call nerds.
Follow and listen to The Moth on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I think I said that maybe Phil Holloway was coming up. We had some scheduling, what would you say, challenges. Conflicts, challenges. I don't want to say conflict, but just challenges. There were some flights involved and court involved because Phil's an attorney. So Congressman Bob Monder is going to join us, I think, at the bottom of the hour. We also have Cusumano coming into town. Not into town, but on the show. The Cardinals dropped 6 out of 9. I think I was fast forwarding ahead because the Cardinals are back in town. They play the Pirates tonight. We'll talk about all that with Frank. We have John Ziegler, my friend from L.A. He's the co-host of the podcast, The Death of Journalism. We'll talk about some of the things involving redistricting and Gavin Newsom. Apparently, Gavin Newsom is picking up some steam when it comes to Democrat support. John wants to talk about the WNBA sex toy scandal, Fred, or you just put that down as an option?
Oh, that's what you told me.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was last week, I think. We'll find out. We'll find out what John's never one that's shy or, problem to get opinions out of. So that's coming up after 5 o'clock. Plus an audio cut of the day and more.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, happy National Kiss Day. Wait, it's National Kiss and Makeup Day. Sorry, you can't cut that off there. So if you got a problem, then you're going to make it up.
I thought you were talking about the band at first, but no.
Well, Gene Simmons would have worked out a Kiss Day if he possibly could. You're absolutely right. And it's National Secondhand Wardrobe Day. Well, okay. Wait, Fred, what would Joyce say? Well,
she'd be all for it.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. And National Banana Split Day. Now, I realize I'm not eating the sugars, but doggone it. I do like a banana split. Fred?
Oh, yeah.
Mark?
Haven't had one in a while, but yes.
Right? Just that kind of brings that to mind. All right, Mark. On this day in history, 50 years ago, in 1975, Bruce Springsteen released his third album, Born to Run, with She's the One, Jungle Land, Thunder Road as well.
And this one. Game changer there for Springsteen, coming off a couple albums that did not do extremely well commercially. He had been on the cover of both Time and Newsweek the same week, and this one, wow. It's interesting because this did not vault him into the land of arenas. Arenas around 1980 because he played St. Louis. It was interesting. The first time I saw him was at the Checkerdome, but he had already been here 3 or 4 months earlier playing not the Opera House, the auditorium, the Kiel Auditorium.
Oh, yeah.
So,
what is this what brought you to Springsteen?
What
album?
No, it was actually The River that did it. I was here. It was the fall of 1980. I had only been in St. Louis for like a year, and my dad offered to take me to Peaches Records, and I did not have a Springsteen record in the collection. I had Tom Petty, I had UFO, I had the Cars, I had a bunch of other bands that were in there. And I just kind of on a whim, mainly because he said any record in the river was a double record, so it cost more. I said,
my gosh.
how about that one? And I took it home. And then by Christmas of that year, I got this and also Darkness on the Edge of Town. So yeah, it didn't come. And now, of course, he's persona non grata because of all the politics. And so I just focused on the music, ladies and gentlemen. It was always the music for me. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't the politics. It was the caliber of entertainment, the shows, which are epic. I've seen about 46, 47 shows over the course of the last 45 years. So, but probably my last, I saw them in Barcelona a couple years ago. That's a good one to close on.
Hey, what song on that album would you have picked for that? Like, what is your favorite on that?
It's hard for me to get away from Thunder Road. I love Thunder Road. But there's a song on that night is a song that he opened with here at that Checkerdome show. It's a great record overall. And I remember talking with, when Kevin Costner came into town, I got to hang out with him for a few hours. We were talking music, and he loved that record just because of the storytelling involved.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely that. I thought he was good in the Billy Joel documentary.
Bruce? Yeah. Did a good job.
I thought that was good. Okay, so that was 50 years ago today. 49 years ago today, the next year, in 1976, Boston released their self-titled album. How about that?
Okay, now I had a cousin, and this was my Aunt Joan and Uncle Ray's son and my Aunt Joan's stepson. He was just a little older than I was. He introduced me to Cheech and Chong when I was young. But this was another one. So Boston and this album, and then I'm not sure when the second album came out. I had that in my first handful of records. There was no doubt about it. And these are records I still listen to today. I've said this before, Sue, and I think you agree. Thank you very much.
Yes.
There's not I'm going to say a month, and maybe there's some exceptions, but there's not a 2 or 3 month stretch that goes by that I won't put Hitch a Ride on from this record, because I just love that. I love the solo so much, but I love that second record as well. So Boston, and I never saw them. I've never seen them live.
I haven't either. I haven't either. Now, this was one of the best-selling debut albums of all time. Of course, More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, and Foreplay/Long Time, all on this one. And then we fast forward another 10 years to 1986, when Paul Simon released one of my favorite albums. It's Graceland. It's 39 years old.
What you've just done here unintentionally is highlight 3 of the greatest records of all time.
A man walks down.
I mean, literally, Graceland is one of the best records, top 25 records of all time. I put Born to Run in that category. I'm not so sure I wouldn't put that Boston record in that category as well.
Listen, my favorite on here is Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes.
Great song.
I almost put that on, and then I thought, well, people won't know what I'm talking about. Fred, are you aware of this album?
Oh, yeah.
Graceland is my favorite.
Graceland is the great song.
Yeah, that's my favorite song. I like this one. I like all of Paul Simon. So yeah, that's interesting.
Chevy Chase.
Great day. Yeah, that's right. Great day of musical history, no doubt.
Wow, it was just wham bam. It was just kind of overwhelming. All right, and Tommy Fleetwood had a long overdue win at the PGA Tour Championship. $10 million for him. I wondered if you watched it, Mark.
I watched a little of it, but it's amazing because I don't know if you remember this. We talked about Tommy on Friday with Dan Reardon. Here's a guy, he's finished, and I don't have all the numbers on the top of my head, but top 20 finishes, top 10, top 5, top 3 finishes. 2 weeks ago, it looked like he was going to win his first PGA Tour event ever after all of this, 153, and he didn't. He kind of blanked the bed, and then he wins this tour. He holds on to the lead, and it got a little dicey, but he wins the championship, and won a lot of money this weekend. So good for Tommy Fleetwood. He's a likable guy on the tour for sure.
Well, this was his 164th tournament.
Isn't that amazing? And he never won one.
Never won one. This is the first one. He's English, isn't he?
Yes.
So we got to listen to him speak.
Yes.
He beat 2 guys that were unfamiliar to me, but that's what's happening now in the PGA.
That's a big story for Tommy Fleetwood.
It is. That's really exciting.
It's one of those things that it's got to get to you, because every time he's on the leaderboard, every time he's in competition, that's all they say is, and they put the graphic up, he's never won on the PGA.
Yeah,
Will this be the day?
Gosh.
Can he hold off the pressure, etc.? And he finally did it.
Well, Waymo, the driverless vehicle service, has gotten approval to test its service in New York City. What could go wrong? Actually, during the testing period, each of the 8 vehicles are required to have a trained safety operator in the driver's seat with at least one hand on the wheel during the test period.
Huh.
It cannot pick up passengers yet. So they're just driving around with one hand. I'm like, okay, which is fine.
I probably feel safer in New York City than anywhere else because you don't move anyway.
Well, that's a good point. They'll just be reporting back to the data to the city's DOT. And if it all goes well, now Waymo, by the way, is the one associated with Google. It can try to get a license from the Taxi and Limo Commission, but the first step has been approved. And in the ever-changing world of what is and isn't approved by the TSA comes the news that cordless curling irons, flat irons, and straighteners with lithium-ion batteries, lithium metal, or gas butane are being banned from checked luggage. But it can be in carry-ons. Now, if you've got a cord on there, it's okay, but wives and girlfriends and people in general need to know that. I would have been in trouble. I always check that because I think, well, that's going to be better. But you know what? I have a cord, so I'm okay. But if you are traveling, that's something you're going to want to know. And then I found an article in Reader's Digest about the best burger in every state. And I thought, okay, well, let's look up Missouri and Illinois. The best burger, according to this, is in Crystal City, south of here, at the Stoplight Drive-In. I've never heard of it. Fred?
I think I might have. I think I went there a while ago with my kids when they were young.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you have the jumbo burger that comes with barbecue sauce, chopped onions, and house-made slaw?
I'm sure I did if it's a burger.
Oh, my gosh, that's awesome. They also have something called the Quadzilla, which I'm just amused by that title. It's got 4 patties. Somebody was creative, so I'm down with that.
Hey, by the way, can I throw one thing in here from the beginning? Because you started this whole Sue's News on a Monday saying what? What did you say? It was
a National Kiss and Makeup Day.
But you could have just limited it to kiss because Gene Simmons has a 76th birthday today.
Oh, does he
it's
really?
His birthday today, yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
We can tie in 2 different types of kisses.
By the way, if you're in Illinois, the best burger is in Chicago, of course, at Al Cheval. People apparently line up there for hours, and they do a cheeseburger with bacon and egg added, along with pickles, onions, and Dijonnaise. I'm all right with Dijonnaise. All right, and the world's oldest person just celebrated another birthday. Her name was Ethel Caterham and was born in England in 1909. That is nuts. So she has advice for people younger than her, which is pretty much everyone on Earth. And she says, say yes to every opportunity because you never know what it will lead to.
That's good advice, right? Yeah.
Fred, is that confusing you, or are you just running by all your opportunities?
Well, I guess she said yes to everything.
I guess so. And finally, in Sue's News, we do have today's random fact. It's another word. The shortest English word that has all 5 vowels is eunonia, E-U-N-O-I-A. It means beautiful thinking or positive mental state. Eunoia.
Never heard of it before. Have you, Sue?
It's
Fred?
No.
Had you before you looked this up, Sue?
Eunoia.
Okay, we learn something every day on Sue's News. We're coming back with Congressman Bob Onder.
Chesko with your money now. Stocks kicked off the pre-holiday week on a sour note with the Dow Jones Industrials giving back 349 points. The S&P 500 eased 27 and the NASDAQ Composite shed 47. Keurig Dr. Pepper will acquire Dutch coffee and tea company JDE Peet's in a roughly $18 billion deal that could give a boost to the U.S. giant's struggling coffee business. Once the acquisition completes, the combined company is set to separate into 2 independent U.S.-listed coffee and beverage firms. In response to all of this, shares of KDP tumbled 11.5%, but those of Peet's surged 17%. Meanwhile, in the wake of lots of customers expressing outrage over the chain's new logo, Cracker Barrel today admitted it could have done a better job sharing who we are and who we'll always be. The Tennessee-based restaurant operator said that what will never change is its values, hard work, family, and scratch-cooked food made with care. Oh, the rocking chairs on the porch, they're staying put, too. That's your money now.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack? Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
So many benefits to James Hardie Fiber Cement Siding, and the team at Banner Construction would love to guide you into those benefits and maybe install that beautiful siding on your home. It really is a very special product. It's become very popular over the years. What is it? Well, it's just a building material used for commercial and residential properties. It's a blend of cement, sand, and cellulose. It looks like natural wood, a lot more durable. And some of the advantages, it's termite and pest resistant. It's mold, mildew, and rot resistant. It is really something that's good when it comes to fire prevention as well, fire prevention rather. So they can guide you through all this. There's a great warranty with the product. There's awesome ROI, and you are going to make sure that you have the best looking home in the neighborhood as well. They deal with Pella replacement windows. Banner is a company that's been around for 30 plus years here in St. Louis and really doing some magical work on homes in the area. And you can even see some examples of this if you go to the showcase portion of their website. To reach them for your free in-home design consultation, all you have to do is call 314-569-1050. The website, bannerconstruction.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
I think I'm supposed to say this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Midwest Made. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
8 p.m. tonight, the Scott Jennings Show will make its debut on 97.1 FM Talk. We had a great conversation with Jennings right around 3:18 this afternoon. You can always use the rewind button and go back and listen to that. We have coming up here a little bit after 5 o'clock, John Ziegler, my friend from the West Coast. He is the co-host of the podcast, The Death of Journalism. Never, ever shy about his opinions. So John's coming up after 5 o'clock. Cusumano a little later this hour. Right now, Congressman Bob Onder, who's just back from a big trip, joins us on 97.1 FM Talk. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Good morning. Great to be back.
Or afternoon, although your clock might be a little bit mixed up because you were just in Rome, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I was. I'm definitely jet lagged.
What was that trip about? Was that an official trip or was it vacation?
Yeah, it was an official trip. It was the International Catholic Legislators Association. It was a trip led by French Hill, one of our congressmen, our financial services chair. Some of my colleagues were on that as well. And it was a really interesting opportunity to meet legislators from all over the world, every continent. And you really do realize that in many ways the future of the church is in the developing world, whether it be Africa or Asia, Latin America. They face a lot of the same problems we have: cultural decline and wokeness, especially an attempt by international agencies, NGOs, EU, trying to push things like extra genders and abortion rights down the throat of these very traditional societies that value children and value marriage and family. So great opportunity. We also, one of our guest speakers was Jay Bhattacharya, who who was, of course, a COVID critic, a critic of the lockdown response to COVID. And he really highlighted how, as bad as it was in the United States, it was devastating to a lot of developing countries. Yeah. In Angola, for instance, there were 11 million school children at the beginning of COVID. 4 million never returned to school after the shutdowns.
Wow. And that really, there's a lot of undercovered and uncovered stories from that period in this country. I mean, the devastation to our own kids is, in my mind, still undercovered by the legacy media, which is why I always recommend David Zweig's book, which is called An Abundance of Caution. But, what you just said there is really staggering. And you don't hear anything about that because, there's so much else going on in the news cycle. You don't have resources for reporters to go over there and say, hey, look at what COVID did to this particular country. So that really is tragic.
Yeah, and it really was devastating our country. The decline in mental health, but even the decline in the life expectancy because of increased use of alcohol, opiates, delayed diagnosis of cancer in our country. But in the developing world, people literally starved to death because of the COVID lockdown response, something that was utterly insane. It made no sense at all. Jay Bhattacharya was the one who highlighted that in California, very early, January, February, March of 2020, for every one case of COVID, there were 50 people who had antibodies if you looked at the blood bank supply. So already COVID was everywhere. The lockdowns, the masks, it made no sense whatsoever.
I've highlighted this a couple of times just because I think it's funny, but the Democrat Socialists had a conference in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, Bob. I'm guessing you were not on the invite list for that, but one of the requirements that they had
I wasn't, but they occasionally show up to my office in Cottleville.
I bet they do. But one of the requirements outside of like the $225 ticket fee was a current COVID test. I swear to God, in August of 2025, they wanted to see a current COVID test. That speaks volumes for the Democrat Socialists, doesn't it?
That's really pretty wild. That's pretty wild. If you look for antibodies, like every single man, woman, and child on the whole planet would have those. But it's funny. It was a number of years ago. I think it was in late 21, maybe early 22. I took a allergy immunology board certification exam, and they said, "Well, to take the exam, you've got to be vaccinated." Oh. And I said, "Does that mean 1 shot, 2 shots, 3, 4,
right.
5, or 6?
Exactly.
So anyway, I was actually vaccinated in January of 2021 when it was still Donald Trump's vaccine. It didn't keep me from getting sick, but no, it was a worthless vaccine. But
yeah,
anyway.
Me neither. All right. Since you left, a couple of things have happened that have been interesting. Well, first of all, let me get your thoughts on Andrew Bailey heading to D.C. to be co-deputy director of the FBI.
Yeah, well, heaven knows he is. It was a little bit of a surprise,
yes.
Because he certainly is qualified for the job. I mean, he served as a deputy attorney general, county prosecutor. I think he was an attorney for the Department of Corrections at one point. He certainly is very, very well qualified. But in Missouri, traditionally, attorney general can be a stepping stone to governor or the U.S. Senate. Mm-hmm. And so, and at the same time, though, I can see the excitement and the desire to serve in the Trump administration. So I wish him well. I think he'll do a great job, and we'll miss him in Missouri.
Yeah, it doesn't discount the possibility if he does, come back and runs for a different race. But it surprised me as well. I didn't see that happening. I haven't spoken with Andrew since this happened. He's been pretty busy. We're hoping to get him on the show here in the next couple of days. You've been going to D.C. for a number of years, but now as a member of Congress, what would you say about the effort to call in the National Guard to keep D.C. safe, Bob?
Well, I think it's overdue. I mean, it's very difficult to understand just how bad the crime situation is in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is the single most dangerous, as judged by the murder rate, capital in the world. Bogota, Colombia, or Mexico City, Mexico, where they have drug cartels, they have murder rates of about 15 or 10 per 100,000 people. Washington, D.C. is double that. It's 27. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The two embassy staffers who were murdered, the congressional intern who was shot to death, the Doge employee who was mercilessly beaten by a mob. But I will tell you, property crime is incredibly high. The Onder family has actually been a victim of 4 property crimes in 2 years in Washington, D.C. And you can, and get this, in the CVS in Navy Yard, which is a pretty nice neighborhood, the CVS Navy Yard locks away toothpaste and toothbrushes.
Oh, great.
That's how bad shoplifting is. One of my staffers told me that on Friday and Saturday night, you can almost set your clock by it. As soon as the sun goes down, there will be gangs going into the CVS, stealing new stuff and clearing out the shelves. I mean, it's just utter lawlessness. And the idea that a country with as many resources as the United States of America would have such an embarrassment of a capital is just pathetic. So I commend President Trump for doing something about it.
So as I'm watching Fox this morning along these lines, and this happens, and we know it's happened in St. Louis, but there was a slate up there that said top 5 most dangerous places in the U.S. This is from U.S. News and World Report: Memphis, Tennessee, Oakland, California, and here we are, St. Louis, Missouri, along with Baltimore and Detroit. So once again, in one of the most dangerous places in the U.S. D.C. may have a higher murder rate, but we're nipping, right behind them, especially per capita, unfortunately. And some of the same things exist with lack of police. And, we need officers. They need officers. You can't get it soon enough. But unfortunately,
it's a failure of our political class, Mark. I mean, when you have mayors and prosecutors, remember not too long ago, we had Kim Gardner. Gabe Gore, of course, is much better than Gardner was. But, the legislature with Governor Keogh's leadership decided to take back control of the St. Louis Police Department. And I think that will be good for morale. The police union did support that. I think it will be good for morale. We'll get recruitment back up again. But at the end of the day, when the criminals know that the political class are pro-crime and don't intend to enforce the law, they run over the city, and it is jet lag. I'm not speaking too clearly.
I can empathize. Believe me.
And what we're seeing in these Democrat cities is the opposite of what we saw with Rudy Giuliani and Bernie Kerik when they were running New York City. They called it broken windows policing. By enforcing the little stuff, if you will, by enforcing the property crimes, by shutting down the squeegee men who would, who would clean your window for free and then key your car if you didn't pay them, by cracking down on the small stuff, by police officers having interactions with the civilian population, paradoxically, you made the murder rate and the armed robbery rate and the carjacking rate and the violent crime rate go down. We're seeing the opposite, where criminals know they can get away with doing almost anything. Probably the single biggest thing you can do to reduce crime on Metro is to actually enforce the fees that are supposed to be paid by riders. So, it's long past time that the state take control of the police department.
Well, and the other commonality between D.C. and St. Louis and probably Chicago and some of these other cities is we're finding out, even in the aftermath of this move by Trump, is that the crime stats are cooked. The books are cooked, and you don't get a good, fair representation of how bad some of these things are. Congressman Bob Onder, get some sleep, rest up. When do you head back to D.C.? You're back in the district now, aren't you?
I am back, yes. So I believe Labor Day is this
next
coming
week.
Monday,
Right.
is the next week, and I go back on Tuesday.
All right, good. Thanks, Bob, for hooking up with us.
Mark.
I know you're tired. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we had an accident occur on southbound 170, and this thing was south of Olive, just a little bit north of Delmar, but it has caused a jam in that area. Then we had a second one reported near Brentwood Boulevard, so kind of a mess on the inner belt. Now, there was an earlier stall westbound 6440 at the Boone Bridge. Looks like that's gone, but we've got road work, and then we had a jam back through Clarkson, so it's all still unwinding. 70 westbound, a little moderate volume at Jennings Station Road, and then it's fine. 64, though, is lined up approaching Hampton out through McCausland, and then again it's slowing right at 270. 44 westbound is a slow go from about the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge through the depressed section right there in front of the arch. And now we've got an accident reported westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge. causing delays in that area as well. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door is simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service than at Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. This is going to be a particularly fun time for Underdog, at least for me, because I love football. And with football back, Underdog, the best place to make your entries and win money all season long. And you can play in Missouri. It was actually the end of the NFL season that I started talking about Underdog. We've gone through baseball and the hockey season and championships and basketball. Now, mind you, all of those sports are either baseball's going on right now. We have hockey that's going to kick off in a few weeks. You don't only have to choose one sport, but playing on Underdog is real easy with the Champions game. You just choose whether your favorite player, let's say it's Patrick Mahomes, will go higher or lower on a stat line, touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and a whole lot more. You get your entries right, you can win up to 5,000 times your money. The way it gets started is you download the app, you sign up with the promo code MarkR. That will get you $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's a pretty good deal. The promo code is MarkR. Millions of fans have won billions making plays on Underdog. The only question is, will you be next? Again, use that promo code. That gets you $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
97.1 FM Talk is proud to support the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet. Mark Cox here. Join me Monday, September 8th at the St. Charles Convention Center with special guest speaker Laura Trump. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
That baby's gone! Cardinals fans, FanDuel Sports Network is your home of the Cardinals. That ball was mashed. And there are more ways to watch this season. Holy cow! Subscribe directly to FanDuel Sports Network to stream the Cardinals without blackouts. How about that play? Or watch through a TV provider. Incredible! Including DirecTV, Spectrum, Xfinity, Fubo, and more. He got it! Learn more at cardinals.com/TV. Ball game! It couldn't have worked out any better for the Cardinals.
Calling all future sportscasters. Sharpen your skills and learn from the best of the Missouri Broadcasters Association Sportscasters Forum Tuesday, September 16th in St. Louis. Join Cardinals beat reporters, broadcasters, and the legendary John Rooney, the voice of the Cardinals, for insider sessions on play-by-play, interviewing, reporting, and more. Then cap the day with a Cards-Reds game at Busch Stadium. Open to college students and broadcasting pros. Just $10 for students, lunch, and a game ticket. Space is limited. Registered by September 2nd at Missouri Broadcasters.org.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Around 5:30, John Anderson is going to join us. He is an Illinois politician running for the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate, but he was at the meeting last week in Schaumburg area, a suburb of Chicago, with this trans boy being allowed to play on a girls' volleyball team, and that got kind of hot, so we'll talk about that. John Ziegler from the Death of Journalism podcast after the top of the hour. Frank Cusumano, KSTK sports director, visits with us on Fridays and Mondays at this time. Hello, Frank. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good to be with you, Mark. Everything's going well.
This was interesting. I missed this somehow. I usually see these stories in the Washington Post, but Fred guided me into the headline that says he's in an SEC quarterback battle. He also just signed with the Dodgers. They have a nice profile on Sam Horn from yesterday in the Washington Post. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, the business of modern college sports is making that easier, what he's doing. You know, he got basically $500,000 from the Dodgers, and he's also making NIL money. So he's going to do well, even though it may be a tough decision for Coach Drink on Friday if he gives him bad news.
So, yeah, set that up just a little bit. What we learned, and we talked about this a little bit on Friday, but what we learned is Coach Drink is not making the final call on whether Prbula or Horn will be the starting quarterback moving forward. He's going to use that first game on Thursday night at home against Central Arkansas as a further test and a gauge in a game situation, which I understand. It certainly makes sense.
Yeah, plus you give Kansas a little less time to prepare for the guy who's going to be the starter because, let's face it, both these guys have a different skill set. Horn is more of a classic drop-back passer, even though he's a good athlete, and Prbula really likes to run. I would wait as long as possible, to make the decision. Well, you can't wait as long as possible, but the longer they wait, it's the less preparation time there is for Kansas.
But you do have to give one of these kids an answer, though, after this game, don't you?
You're right. And I just wonder because you think that he probably is leaning one way. I mean, nothing's ever a 50-50. So he's probably leaning one way. Let's say he's leading Prbula's way, but then on Thursday night, Horn goes 14 for 16 for 165 yards. I mean, it's really going to be difficult.
Well, that'd be fun to see. I mean, I'm looking forward to it and just see what they have. These first games are definitely tough. I was reading, last week, I guess they took the team on the road to Lindenwood. Ethan, you know this because they sort of did it as a test mock scrimmage, if you will, on a visiting game. Because one of the things that Drink has said is, this is certainly true in all college sports, if you don't get off fast, especially in these road games, you're in big trouble. And that was one of the things he was trying to address.
Yeah, I was there and talked to Coach Drink before. And he said he just wanted to make it feel like a real road game. So that's why they got in the buses and traveled and played it just like a real road game. Mark, one other quick Mizzou quarterback thought. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but the New York Jets cut Adrian Martinez, the guy Brady Cook was battling for that third quarterback spot. Now, a cut-down day where you have to have your 53-man roster is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Nothing is for sure, but it has to be trending the right way as we speak for Brady Cook in becoming an NFL player, which would just be awesome.
That would be awesome. That's very cool. All right, the Cardinals coming off not the best road trip. They're back at home to play the Pirates tonight. Are we going to see Skeens this week?
No, he pitched yesterday and was unbelievable. 6'6", 260 pounds. He's going to win the Cy Young. He's going to be a runaway winner, and he's only got 8 victories. It gives you an idea of what the Pirates have given you support-wise. Mark, I think the most interesting thing about this 4-game set is the Cardinals have not had a game where they've sold fewer than 20,000 tickets. If there ever was a series, it's the Pirates midweek with the kids back in school. We'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, that sucks, but you're probably right about that.
Frank, switching over here to St. Louis City, perhaps the biggest news story of the day in St. Louis. Lutz Pfannenstiel, their sporting director, I believe it was the first hire that they made in the organization's history, is they decide to part ways with him after a disappointing 2025 season, 2024 as well. This felt kind of surprising to me, or at least at this point of the year. What are your thoughts on the entire situation?
Yeah, I thought they probably would have waited to the end of the season, but as we speak, Ethan, there's 30 teams in the MLS, and St. Louis City SC has more points than just one of those teams. And last year, as we know, was brutal too. He kind of has botched some of these coaching, hiring, and firing. I mean, look, Bradley Carnell may be the best coach in the MLS. He fired him. He hired Olaf Melberg, who was just clueless from day one. And, also, I think, he's the guy who's bought the groceries, okay? He's the one assembling this talent, and this talent is just not good enough. So it's not shocking that it's happening maybe a little earlier than people thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, because I don't know that world, how often that happens. Are we in the middle? We're not really in the middle of the season. We're kind of toward the latter end of the season, right?
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, look, this is the big week because the NFL opens this week. The Chiefs will play on Friday night. I cannot wait for NFL football. I did watch a little college football. That Iowa State game was pretty good. That one was in Dublin. KU, unfortunately, did get a victory over the weekend. Mizzou faces them in a couple of weeks, but we're off and running when it comes to football in 2025.
Yeah, I just can't wait till Thursday night. It's going to be great, even though it's only Central Arkansas, just to have Mizzou back on the field.
Frank, we'll talk on Friday after that big victory. How about that?
All right, let's do it.
All right. Got a little mixed feelings, only because I was talking about going to Diana Ross, not realizing that is the opening night of Mizzou. I'm going to pick Diana Ross, though.
Okay.
If it was a bigger game, I mean, this is Central Arkansas. And by the way, I think I can get home and zip through and see the plays. I'm not a big watch live sports recorded, but I can at least go through the highlights and see what happened. And that'll be fine. As long as these games go, hell, I'll be home from the Muni in time to see the fourth quarter anyway, because they last forever.
Mark, I'm starting to scout out some tickets for Alabama Mizzou in October. I'm licking my lips at the thought of how fun of a game that could be. Perhaps the biggest game in Columbia in how many years?
The prices are high for that.
They are high. Yeah. They are high, but I'm kind of in like a treat yourself situation here.
But my recommendation would be maybe let the market settle down just a little bit, because people are going to ask for for a lot for those tickets. That's a morning game too. It's 11 o'clock game, so we don't even know the time of that. There's a band that's coming in town that night to the factory. Well, X is playing, but Los Lobos with all the original members, and I love Los Lobos.
That's your Christmas. That's because they're Christmas music, right? You like their Christmas music?
I've used some of their. You're thinking of Los Straitjackets, though.
You're right.
Yeah,
those are good too.
Los Lobos is a band that I first saw at the old Blue Note in Columbia, Missouri, circa 1982 or 1983. A fantastic band, but there's time to go to the Alabama game to get home and to do both.
Boy, would that be a long and full day, but it'd be a good day.
Yeah, it might have to be. Well, I love that band so much, so I might have to do that. All right, John Ziegler is coming up here in just a little bit after the top of the hour. He is the co-host of the podcast, The Death of Journalism. It's been just a little bit since I've caught up with John. He used to write at Mediaite. He is always shooting straight. He's got some thoughts, obviously, on redistricting in California and Gavin Newsom. John loves to talk about the WNBA, so we may have to touch on that. And I'm very curious about, I guess he did something with his father where he was interviewing his dad. I'm not familiar with that. Fred has that a note on my sheet here, so we'll have to follow that up on, unless I just misinterpreted that and wrote that wrong. We also have audio cut of the day, and then John Anderson running for the Senate in Illinois, who is upset about the Chicago area trans boy being allowed to play on a girls volleyball team in the Schaumburg area. We'll have that and more coming up in the next hour.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, it's been an interesting commute. We have had some issues out there. If you are just leaving, first of all, there's an accident westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge, and traffic is jammed through there. 44 westbound, slow in front of the Arch. We had multiple accidents on southbound 170, one close to Delmar, another at Brentwood. That's left us with a delay. Southbound 270, slow pockets from, looks like Olive now, down through 44, and then it looks better. Now, 70 westbound is fine out of downtown. We had some moderate volume at the airport and a little bit at Bryan Road. 64, that's slow. It's just past Kings Highway out through McCausland, but it's still heavy and slow around Boone's Crossing and in pockets out through the Boone Bridge. We've got road work there and some moderate volume to the west. If you are headed into Illinois, there's a slow go eastbound 64 approaching 159. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out, windows, siding, kitchens, baths, quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Go to lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Oh, and you know what? If you have saved money for retirement, but haven't really come up with a financial plan, like one that is completely written out, this is our financial retirement plan, then you are behind. I mean, this is not something you can mess around with. The closer we all get to retirement, the more I think, yeah, this is essential. And part of it is you want to know that your money will last. But the other part is you need an expert to guide you to say, here's how to get the most out of it. Here's how the tax code works. Here's how we can get the most out of what you've got and get a good look so you can be reassured that you will make it through. This is why I like financial and tax architects, and they teach you along the way. In fact, they put on a class called Retirement Planning 101, and that's how you can meet them and see what they're about and learn. So give them a call today, 314-888-5101. 314-888-5101, and get started, learn who they are, learn how the process works, and see if you won't feel better about retirement.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now, 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
Never shy to offer his opinions. John Ziegler from the Death of Journalism podcast, just around the corner.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley, St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
He could be deported again. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Salvadoran migrant the Trump administration admitted was deported by mistake, arrested by ICE agents after he arrived for a check-in at the agency's field office in Baltimore.
His friends and family insist he's a Maryland husband, father, and a good person. The government says he's MS-13, a notorious gang member from El Salvador living here illegally. He was out of prison awaiting trial in Tennessee for human smuggling charges. About 150 supporters came out to Baltimore for a 6:30 a.m. rallies to support Abrego Garcia. DHS officials have indicated Uganda is in his future. A judge previously said he couldn't be deported to his home country over fear of gang violence, but he's facing these human smuggling charges in Tennessee. He was brought back here. His case has risen above all others, primarily because he was deported to El Salvador not only by mistake, but without a court hearing.
Fox says David Sponge in Baltimore. The Trump administration made a deal with Uganda earlier this month to take in deportees. President Trump has signed an executive order that would revoke or withhold federal funding for local and state governments that offer cashless bail, saying it's a threat to public safety.
Somebody kills somebody, they go in, don't worry about it, no cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. And I mean, they kill people and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because they just killed 3 people lying on a street.
Proponents of eliminating cash bail say it's a penalty on poor people, suggesting the wealthy can pay their way out of jail. The president signed another executive order that would have the Justice Department prosecute people for burning the American flag. In 1989, the Supreme Court ruled that flag burning is political expression. America is listening to Fox News.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Hard to believe it is the last full week of August on this Monday afternoon. It's wonderful. Mostly sunny skies, low temperatures, low humidities for this time of year. 77 for the high. Tonight, clear skies. We dropped through the 70s for evening plans. 58 for the overnight low. Tuesday, sunshine, still great. 77, 55 Tuesday night. Wednesday, sunny and 79. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
want to mention again, we started the show off with Scott Jennings. His new radio show, the Scott Jennings Show, is going to air weeknights at 8 p.m. on 97.1 FM Talk. He started that show. It's hard for me to believe that it was like 7 weeks ago when Jennings started that on the Salem Network, and he will be airing tonight. He gave us a nice preview a couple hours ago here. If you want to use the rewind function, you can do that and go back to about 3:18 on 97.1 FM Talk on the Odyssey app. John Anderson's coming up in a little bit. He is Illinois GOP Senate hopeful, probably won't be a senator because they tend to vote Democrat in Illinois. But he was at the meeting last week in the Schaumburg area at the school district where you have a 6'3" biological boy that's going to play on the volleyball team. So he's going to join us. We also have audio cut of the day coming up. John Ziegler back with us, the co-host of the podcast, The Death of Journalism. How are you, John? Welcome back. It's been just a little bit. Haven't spoken with you much this summer. Hope all is well.
I'm doing well. Hope you're doing okay as well.
I'm doing better. I will tell you that. I had a rough start to the summer, and I think I kind of let you in on that a little earlier. You just put up a tweet a short time ago that said, so we're going to get into it here. To review, Trump has just taken government ownership of 10% of Intel, declared that he wants a Department of War, supposedly made flag burning illegal with heavy mandatory punishment, claimed that many Americans want him to be a dictator. Now, I did not hear the dictator line. There's often situations where Trump is, I think, misrepresented by the media because he's just joking. So I don't know about that one. I will say this. I've always been somebody who has defended the constitutional right to burn a flag. I think that that's kind of silly, although there seems to be nuance to that with rioting if you really hear the executive order. But you're not too much of a fan of the things that have been going on here the past day or so with this president, which is not unusual for you, John.
Well, for the record, with regard to the issue of dictator, I actually did tweet that some of the media is taking what he said a bit out of context. There was some context. It was in relation to the issue of essentially nationalizing the police in Washington, D.C. However, what Trump said should never come out of the mouth of a United States president. That some people or many people in America would like me to be a dictator, words to that effect, should just never be said, regardless of what the true intent was or what the context is. That's literally in our mission statement. No kings, no dictators, no tyrants. So that's where I have a problem with that. As far as the flag burning executive order, and that's part of this problem, is that this is an executive order. And I'll be the first to acknowledge that the executive order itself doesn't really do very much, which is not unusual for executive orders, because essentially what it's doing is it's moving the line of the Supreme Court decision on flag burning ever so slightly, in my opinion. What it's doing is it's basically reducing the threshold for criminalizing any riot that might ensue because of a flag burning. But that is still, to me, dangerous because I'm a big believer, Mark, as you know, in the slippery slope. And while I don't agree with flag burning in 99% of cases, free speech is so important in this country that there needs to be a firewall, literally in this case, a firewall where you even allow the burning of your own flag. And that's under free speech. It's protected free speech. The U.S. Supreme Court and Antonin Scalia could not have been more clear about this. And now, by executive order, which is awfully king-like, Trump seems to be diminishing that right, and that's concerning to me. So all these things to me, Mark. Here's my last thing I'll say on this, and then you say whatever you want. If they were done by a Democratic president, MAGA world and the MAGA media would be going bananas. And rightfully so.
I think on most of it they would. I don't know on the flag burning, because I think, like, if you pull that out, most Americans, probably even Democrats, think that should be illegal. I'm with you though. I've always defended it as a constitutional right. What it seemed like they were saying, and Will Scharf, who's a Missouri guy, was there when he was signing that executive order. It seems like what they're saying is if you go out to your front yard and you burn a flag, John Ziegler, you're protected constitutionally. But if you do that and it incites a riot, well, then that's not protected. But I would think that we would have statutes that would address inciting a riot outside of, burning the flag anyway.
True, but also, how is it that you should be held responsible for the actions of what people do in response to your free speech?
Yeah.
I mean, that's an absurdity. That's not free speech. I mean, by the way, under that circumstance, you could provoke someone into being put in jail for a year if you didn't like them. Let's say there's a liberal on your street, you don't like them, they're burning the American flag. All you got to do is create a fake riot, and they're going to prison for a year.
Yeah,
that's not America. I mean, we're not far from there. And that if you interpret the executive order word by word, that is very, very plausible.
Well, let me ask you about your opinion, because you're talking to someone here in a very crime-ridden area. I mentioned this earlier. There was a slate that was thrown up on Fox today that said the top 5 most dangerous places in the U.S.: Memphis, Oakland, St. Louis, right there in the middle, Baltimore, Maryland, Detroit, Michigan. You have Trump moving in the National Guard in D.C. The rule is a little different there because it's the nation's capital. But are you uncomfortable with the National Guard? I think we probably talked when some of this was going on in L.A., and I can't remember what your take on that was.
Well, I do agree with you that legally, constitutionally, D.C. is a different animal. I mean, for a whole host of reasons. So I think Trump has more space there. And, so I'm not as inherently offended, or I don't believe it's as dangerous. Now, is this a precedent for then doing the same thing in other cities? That would be concerning, because what's the threshold? What's the standard? When do you start? When do you stop? And, we saw during COVID when, California, Gavin Newsom declares himself a king and a constant state of emergency with no end in sight. And it went on for over 2 years. So that is concerning. But I think if it is isolated to D.C., I think this is actually a political winner for Trump, because it's clear that crime is going to go down. He's going to prove that basically Democrats are not in favor of cutting down on crime in their Democrat-run cities. And I think that this is probably a win for him. And I don't have a huge problem with it if it is isolated to D.C. because of the unique legal circumstances there.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what my take has been, certainly on that front. I got to ask you about some politics stuff here, national politics. I don't know. I just spent a little bit of time on this last week, but Shane Goldmacher is one of the reporters at the New York Times that kind of does this deep dive into the bleed out that the Democrats are having with partisan affiliation. Now, we're not in a state here in Missouri where you have to declare whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, but there are 30 states, I think, that do that. And when this got to the New York Times and another writing partner went at the numbers, it was pretty staggering how different in Pennsylvania and some of these other key states, the numbers were so lopsided toward Republicans. What do you make of that, John Ziegler?
Well, I think I'm one of those that's probably been slow to recognize this political significance of this. There were people talking about this during the 2024 election, and it did turn out, at least on the presidential level, to be a precursor. For instance, in Pennsylvania, Trump won Pennsylvania, and the registration numbers were trending very heavily in Republican favor there, and I think that's not a coincidence. However, I do think this could lead to a bit of overconfidence among Republicans, specifically when it comes to the 2026 election. Because how do you explain how it is that, and I know people don't like polls anymore, but virtually every party ID poll when it comes to congressional support next year is very much in the Democrats' favor. And I think that, these registration numbers, plus the fact that Democratic Party approval is way down nationwide, I think in a deceiving fashion, because I think there's a whole lot of Democrats who are not willing to say they approve of the Democratic Party, who will never, ever vote for Republicans. They're pissed off that Democrats aren't fighting Trump hard enough. So those people are still going to vote for Democrats in the next in the midterm election, where Trump's name is not going to be on the ballot. So while I think registration numbers are significant, we're still got a long way to go. If the economy is doing well a year from now, then that changes everything. But I think right now Democrats are heavily favored to do very well in the next election, as they traditionally do in any midterm election.
Yeah, they would
just
be.
Lost.
But, if you kind of dig into some of the polling on what we call the 80-20 issues or the 90-10 issues, deporting criminal illegal aliens, the polling is 75-25. Doge-style elimination of waste and fraud, 73-27%. This includes a lot of Democrats who are opposed to these things. Closing the border, discouraging illegal crossing, 67-33. So the list kind of goes on down. And these aren't even, fringe issues. These are issues where every issue, a majority of Democrats also agree with Republicans. Now, how that manifests itself in the midterms when everything a year from now to your point, could be completely different. The economy, although we had some people predicting we'd be in recession territory even the end of this year, the stock market's back up. Things seem to be going well. Inflation numbers are down. I'll be fascinated to see what happens because, to your point, you know this, John, history would favor not only like a small tilt in the Democrats' direction, but they could gain a fair amount of seats next year, and that's what this redistricting battle is all about. So you got California, Texas, Missouri is in on some of this as well. Will that make any difference when it comes to the numbers and the math heading into next year?
It could make a significant difference. I'm obviously very much in tune with what's happening here in California. I'm probably Gavin Newsom's number one critic, although I have a lot of competition for that. I think what he's doing regarding redistricting is beyond outrageous. I mean, even by California standards, to spend over $200 million to call a special election for purely partisan means and motives to reverse the state constitution. We've already voted on this, Mark, as you know. We have a very set plan for how we do districting, and to do it purely as an attack on Donald Trump as a way to jumpstart your 2028 presidential campaign, all, by the way, while Los Angeles is not rebuilding from the worst wildfire in its history, and you're just sitting around doing nothing on that front, and you're getting away with it because of a compliant non-existent news media in this state and a non-existent Republican Party, is absolutely infuriating. But I'm starting to believe that in the long run, and this might be why Republicans are kind of a little bit muted in their attacks on Newsom, because I think they realize in the long run this is actually going to be good for Republicans. Because if California is successful in doing this, yeah, they'll pick up 4 or 5 seats tops. Democrats will, but they will lose the moral high ground countrywide. And Republicans in many states, including yours, will be able to do basically whatever they want if they control the state legislature. And in the long run, Republicans will probably pick up more seats than they lose, maybe by a large margin.
So what is Newsom up to right now? There seemed to be that point earlier this year. He's doing some podcasts. He seemed to at least give just a little bit, not unlike Mayor Pete did a few weeks ago with the fairness on the trans issue in sports. But is he kind of taking it in another direction now based on some of the polling out there where he wants to be just as crazy as he's always been?
Well, his strategy is clearly that he's going to be the number one anti-Trump fighter. And it's working for him. Now, it's bizarre that Democrats are gravitating to the guy who they think is their anti-Trump fighter when he's using Trump tactics. I mean, all of them. I mean, not just the way he's tweeting, which he's trying to be funny and imitating the way that Trump tweets, which, by the way, I don't have a big problem with it as long as it's funny. Oftentimes it's not. But he's also using a lot of the same political tactics, including in this redistricting fight. And so it's bizarre to me that Democrats, they hate Trump so much that they're trying to find someone who's as much like him as they can possibly get. Not to mention, and I've always been fascinated by the fact that, Newsom is basically a pseudo member of the Trump family. I mean, his former wife was the fiance of Donald Trump's favorite son at the time, Donald Trump Jr. Now she's been jettisoned to Greece because Donald Trump Jr. has a new girlfriend. But Newsom and Trump were all too friendly during COVID. It drove me up a wall.
They were.
It drove me up a wall. And now, they're enemies again. So I think that from a purely political perspective, at least in the short run, what Trump, there's a Freudian slip, what Newsom is doing is going to be effective. I think because Kamala is no longer seen as a legitimate threat. I mean, frankly, I don't think she intended people to take her book announcement as her not running in 2028, but it seems as if people are just deciding she's not running in 2028. And without Kamala there to block Newsom, because I think Kamala blocks Newsom. You can't have two people from California. There's not enough space. Even though they're both celebrities and they'll have lots of money.
Right about that, yeah.
And so I think Newsom has seen that Kamala has opened the path and he's running right through it like a bull. And I think it's going to work. If she doesn't run, let me put it this way. I don't know that he's the favorite to win the nomination, but he is guaranteed to be in the top 3. And if you're in the top 3, the breaks go your way, you got a hell of a chance.
John Ziegler with us from the Death of Journalism podcast. I haven't spoken to you in a while, so there's a couple media stories I was curious about. What do you think about Colbert being canceled, although not canceled till next year? Thoughts on that?
Well, I think it was obviously a financial decision. I think he's lucky to get as much time to say goodbye as he wanted when the show is losing that much money. I think the proof, it didn't take very long for the facts to really come out here and for us to realize what the truth was. The whole idea that this was a political decision by Paramount was absurd. Have you watched what South Park has done? South Park is a Paramount-owned show, and they have been going after Donald Trump after the sale and the merger harder than they ever have previously, harder than Colbert probably ever has. So this was purely a financial decision, and I think in the bigger picture, Mark, I think it's symbolic of the fact that the media landscape is not just changing, it's collapsing. I mean, I'm a firm believer that in a few years, not all three major networks will have even evening newscasts.
I believe that.
It wouldn't surprise me if only one of these or maybe two of these late night shows survives as we currently know them. And, look, I hate the fact that they're all run by liberals, and I hate the fact that all the gatekeepers in the major media have always been liberal, or most of them for many generations. But part of me is going to miss the fact that we have gatekeepers at all. I mean, to me, the only thing that might be worse than having only liberal gatekeepers is having no gatekeepers. And that's where we're headed.
It's kind of sad. No, I'm with you. And it bothers me. And, local journalism is another story altogether. Hey, on the sports journalism front, I don't remember if I saw a tweet about this, but SportsCenter tweets something out that says all the icons, all the moments, all of ESPN, all in one place. And they put this graphic up that has all these players and even some broadcasters. They had 11 WNBA players plus the WNBA broadcast team in the montage, just one soccer player, 3 MLB players, 3 NHL. I mean, they just when you think they can't outdo themselves in embarrassment, John, they do on a regular basis, don't they?
And no Tiger Woods.
No Tiger Woods at all. The greatest, all of the greatest, right? All of the moments, all the icons.
It was so bad they actually deleted it. I don't know if you know that.
I did. I did know that. Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. It's comical. I mean, it's a parody. They're a parody of themselves, and they're going to get worse because I think one of the most underrated sports news, whatever you want to call it, media stories, not just of this year, but of this decade and beyond, is the fact that in just the last couple of weeks, we have now learned that the National Football League owns 10% of ESPN and owns a certain percentage, we don't know the exact percentage, of CBS. Now, how in the world
that's
can you
crazy.
possibly cover by far the largest sports organization in the country when they literally own you? It's just ridiculous.
You cannot make it up. Yeah, you cannot make it up. And then let me close here with golf because I spent some time on this. Did you see how Tiger has been appointed the kind of the point person to what they're describing as proposing some radical changes in the world of the PGA Tour? What are your thoughts? Where could that take us?
Well, I have been probably the biggest Tiger Woods fan there ever has been. I used to have a worldwide famous website devoted to him. And so, I mean, I'm a huge Tiger fan. I'm a competitive golfer and still to this day. So, and I actually, for a very brief time, worked for the PGA Tour a million years ago. First place I ever got fired from PGA Tour Productions. But so I have a little bit of, I think, credibility on this issue. I am concerned with where this is going because the entire focus seems to be on making sure that the most famous players get as little competition as possible. We've seen this with these signature events, and and to me, golf has always been a meritocracy. That's what it's always supposed to be. How famous you are, how rich you are, doesn't matter. It's how well you played or how well you've been playing that gets you into these tournaments. And I just don't think that's Tiger's vision. I think Tiger and the PGA Tour, and it certainly fits with everything else we've seen in sports now, where fame really, truly does matter, even when it comes to sports competitions. And I don't think that's a good thing, especially for golf.
How about Tommy Fleetwood finally getting the PGA win and wins like $20 million doing it?
Well, it's fantastic that he did that, but it's a joke that, a guy who has never won a PGA Tour before yesterday is officially crowned as the season champion.
I know. That's
when
weird.
Scotty Scheffler had one of the greatest years in the history of the sport. I mean, it's a ridiculous system and needs to be fixed.
Yeah, that part of it we agree. John Ziegler, always great to have you on. I hope all is well. I hope the scorecard is treating you well on the golf course this summer. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We actually look pretty good out there right now. Westbound 70 looks great out of downtown. A little bit slow west of 94 and at Wentzville, and that's it. 64, some volume. And it's Kings Highway out to the Inner Belt, but it really is just moderate. And moderate volume through Chesterfield Valley. We've got southbound 270 with slow pockets from Page. Now, this goes down to just south of 44. 55 is slowing at Bates. Most of the slow-moving traffic is on the Illinois side, eastbound 64, between 157 and 159. This report brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
He's not here to play nice. He's here to make you think. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
I think I referenced this last week, and we may have touched on it on the Reardon Roundtable, but there's a lot of self-examination going on, and both parties do this. I mean, the Republicans, what was it, more than a decade ago, they did their autopsy after they got their butts whipped in an election, trying to figure out which direction to take it. The Democrats are doing that right now as well. But what's funny is I don't think a lot of the people on the other side are going to take the advice that are given to them. So there was this list that came out last week. I think it's like 40 words or something like that, that this group, the Third Way, put out a memo, and they were basically trying to say that, most Democrats do not run or govern on wildly out of touch social positions, but they kind of do. But voters would be excused to believe that they do because of the words that come out of their mouth, words that sound like we are hiding behind unfamiliar phrases to mask extreme intent. So the person who wrote this on this website, which is called thirdway.org, says, why the tortured language? After all, many Democrats are aware that the words and phrases we use can be profoundly alienating. But do they? But do they know that? Because they use it when they use plain, authentic language that voters understand, often rebounds badly among many activists and advocacy organizations. They write, these activists and advocates may take on noble causes, but in doing so, they demand compliance with their preferred messages. And that is how birthing person became a stand-in for mother or mom, which is just ridiculous. And if we don't think more carefully about our language, many in America will be banking on help from Donald Trump and Republicans because Democrat levers of power will be few and far between. Now, look, they say that in this memo, they're putting a spotlight on the language that they use that puts a wall between us and everyday people of all races, religions, and ethnicities. They should have done this years ago. Some of us have been talking about how ridiculous this is for at least a decade or more. But this memo says that these are words that people simply do not say, yet they hear them from Democrats. And they could not be more right. So they say, these are awesome. Therapy speak. These words say, I'm more empathetic than you, and you are callous to hurting others' feelings. Privilege, violence, as in environmental violence, dialoguing, othering, triggering, microaggression, assault, invalidation, progressive stack. Not sure what that one is. Do you know that one, Sue? Progressive stack?
Nope.
Centering, safe space. That's one we've been familiar with for a while. Holding space, and then body shaming. So they're recommending that anything along those lines, get rid of them because people don't say stuff like that. Seminar room language is another category here. This language says, I'm smarter and more concerned about important issues than you are. Subverting norms, systems of oppression. That's one that's used at every university in the country. Critical theory, cultural appropriation. That's always one of my favorites. I mean, you can't even dress up as somebody, or you
For
are
Halloween.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You're accused of cultural appropriation. Postmodernism, Overton window, existential threat to climate, the planet, democracy, the economy. You hear that one a lot. Then there's another category here. They have several categories. Organizer jargon. These words say that we are beholden to groups, not individuals. People have no agency. Radical transparency. Small d democracy. Barriers to participation. Stakeholders. The unhoused. You can't say homeless anymore. You have to say the unhoused. Food insecurity. Housing insecurity. Person who immigrated, right? Person who immigrated. Then there's the gender orientation correctness category. These say that your views on traditional genders and gender roles are at best quaint. Birthing person, inseminated person, pregnant people, chest feeding, cisgender, dead naming. All of these things are just so ridiculous. Heteronormative, patriarchy, LGBTQIA+, easier to say, the alphabet mafia. The shifting language of racial constructs. These words signal that talking about race is even more of a minefield. You will be called out as a racist if you do not use the latest and correct terminology. Like I say Latinx, is it Latinx? It's Latinx. You know, the LA Times went on this thing, and this may go back about 10 years, where they said, we're going to use the term Latinx, even though a majority of people who are Hispanic hate that word, and they simply do not use it. You know, I used to be a news anchor and a news director and a news writer. And there was a guy that wrote a book. He was a legendary CBS News guy. His name was Mervyn Block. And he wrote the definitive book on writing news scripts many years ago. One of the things that always stood out to me, and I even tried to enforce this with people who worked for me when I was a news director. You know how you hear that there's a race for governor in a state, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's called the gubernatorial race, right? Nobody uses that word. The only people who use that word, not even, I remember Merv Block even wrote this, not even the governor uses the word gubernatorial, but all the news stations and the Associated Press, they have to use, you know, the terminology like that, even though people don't use it. And this takes it a step further, right? Like BIPOC. Allyship. I don't know that one. Do you know that one?
No, I don't.
Intersectionality, minoritized communities. Then there's the explaining away crime category. This says the criminal is the victim. The victim is an afterthought, and they could not be more correct. Justice involved, carceration, incarcerated people, involuntary confinement, So in this organization, thirdway.org, says, look, some will take issue with the inclusion of words or phrases we ask Democrats to avoid when talking to the public. And to reiterate, we have used some of these phrases in our own writings in the past. But before you draft your angry tweet thread, think about conversations with persuadable voters in your own life, especially friends, family, and coworkers. What I love here is that these are people, if you use words like this, you love words like this. You don't care what other people think, and you're going to keep using them because you think that you're the oppressed and white people are bad and they're the oppressor and everything about this country is bad. So they're going to keep using language like that, which I think is awesome for Republicans.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you are headed into Illinois, eastbound 64, we actually look fine on the bridges downtown. But eastbound 64 is slowing between 157 and 159. That, of course, due to road work. Now, back on the Missouri side, eastbound 64 slowing at 170. We've got westbound with moderate volume Hampton out through McCausland, a little bit through Chesterfield Valley as well. 70 looks great out of downtown. Watch out for moderate volume northbound 170 at 70. And 55 actually looks okay. It's just a little bit slow at Bates. This report brought to you by Infinite Vitality. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Learn more at MissouriBrushControl.com. Missouri Brush Control is helping landowners reclaim their property, manage vegetation, and clear land for better views. Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Missouri Brush Control, making acreage great again. Visit MissouriBrushControl.com.
Surprise! Surprise! You know, surprise parties, they can be fun, right? Well, financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you think you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions and schedule a retirement double check. Marvin and his team have been helping families plan for retirement for more than 15 years. Call 314-373-1598 to schedule your retirement double check with Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions. That's 314-373-1598. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Give Marvin and the team a call, 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and in Illinois.
Many people dream of learning how to play the piano. Hi, this is Kathy from Lacefield Music, but few ever do. And here are a few of the reasons why. I can't read music, it will take too long, it's too expensive, it's too hard, or I've tried before and I failed. This would be true with most piano lessons, but not with Lacefield Music's innovative adult piano classes. With Lacefield Music's classes, you will learn how to read music and play with both your right and left hand the very first week. And you'll be able to play all your favorite songs in only 8 weeks. Maybe not fast, but you'll be able to play them. Lacefield Music's adult piano course is usually $100, but only twice a year we open this course up to the public for the low price of only $29.99. That's only $29.99 for all 8 weeks. What have you got to lose? Classes are forming now in our Chesterfield location. Call 636-778-2070 or go to lacefieldmusic.com to sign up online. That's lacefieldmusic.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Built in the heartland for the heartland.
97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Fred has set up our good friend Ilya Shapiro, one of our constitutional experts, for tomorrow night to talk about the constitutionality of flag burning. John Ziegler and I earlier this hour, we kind of agreed. Look, I think it's a guaranteed free speech right, as reprehensible as it is, but Ilya will have the lowdown on that. I also think that EO, the executive order, is a little nuanced, and it's nuanced on purpose. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. We have Congresswoman Ann Wagner will be here tomorrow in the 3:00 hour, and a bunch of other stuff as well. There was something that I wanted to mention, Sue. Well, first thing I would say, in the previous segment when I was doing the words that the lefties are being encouraged to not use, in different categories, some of the speech issues, during the break, I happened to look at our company email, which is actually rare for me because I only check it a couple of times a day. I prefer my personal email, but I won't name the person, but I noticed that one of our executives, and they do this. And, I've said this before. If you ever get to a point where a company is going to force me to use pronouns in my email, I think I'll be walking out the door. But we still have virtue signalers even here with the company. You would think that in the aftermath of what happened last year, that people would say, you know what? Even that Michelle, what's her name? Michelle Lee over at Channel 5, the chick that blocked me because I happened to ask a question about her personal pronouns. She took them down. They were so damn important to her, but she still took them down.
That's interesting.
It is, isn't it? I find it fascinating because she was very beholden to those personal pronouns last year or 2 years ago, whenever it was. I had that dust up. John Anderson is here. He's running for the United States Senate in Illinois as a Republican, but my understanding was at this meeting last week that got kind of hot in Illinois, where you have a volleyball player who is a biological man who is trying to play with the girls.
I'm disgusted by the way this district has dismissed the safety of these young girls, as well as the safety of the young girls on the opposing teams that they will be playing. I am disgusted that the district is robbing these young women of athletic opportunities, not only at the high school level, but potential opportunities to compete at the collegiate level. The district is in direct violation of a federal executive order and risks losing their federal funding.
Every time we have a story like this, and there was another one that came out of, I think, Oregon this weekend with a track star who is trans, who took some titles. I'm just stunned by it, Sue. I think that we still are, even though we've been talking about this for a long time, the pendulum has certainly shifted. Majority of Democrats think that this is an issue of fairness and ridiculous, but here we go again in suburban Chicago. John Anderson, who I mentioned is running for the Senate in Illinois, is with us. John, how are you? Thanks for coming on 97.1 FM Talk.
John Goodman, sir. Sorry to correct you, but John Goodman, like the actor guy.
That's even easier. I'm sorry. I'm going to throw my producer under the bus here, but I appreciate that. John Anderson happened to be another Illinois politician way back in the day that ran as an independent candidate for president, as you might know. Well, John, I apologize for that. Many apologize. So what is going on here? How is this even possibly up for debate in a suburb of Chicago or any place else?
Well, this isn't the first time it's happened in the last month or two. Even in Naperville, they had track stars as well, girls track athletes several months ago. Make records and take home medals, and they robbed the girls. But aside from fairness, my main concern with this one was safety. The trans person who was on the volleyball team, the girls' volleyball team, was 6'4" biological male, and it was 9th grade volleyball. I'm sorry, but you got to take safety and concern with that, because people get hurt. I mean, I don't believe in I'm not woke or DEI or whatever, but you got to take common sense into these things and say, hey, someone's going to get hurt, and not try and push ideologies on people,
Well, and we have seen this happen with volleyball in particular, where there was a player in the video that went viral from last year. Maybe it was, the year before, but we've seen
McNabb, right?
Yeah. Well, right. We've seen the velocity at which these balls are being hit over the net with a 6'4" biological male against freshman girls. I think would be dramatic.
Yeah. And I used the example. I told them, I said it's akin to letting a grown man play, Pee Wee or football, Pop Warner football or whatever. And that may sound like hyperbole, but the parallels are factual. More muscle mass, more bone density, larger size, and more athletic prowess. Someone's going to get hurt.
Well, and again, I mentioned, I pulled this up here. There was Peyton McNabb was the young college athlete who was spiked by a trans competitor when she was 17, and that changed the trajectory of her of her life. And she is featured in a documentary. I haven't seen this. It's called Kill Shot, How Peyton McNabb Turned Tragedy into Triumph. So it's a story that's being documented. I think that's something you can watch on YouTube right now. When you were there in that room, though, we played some of the audio from, the parents who are justifiably outraged. Was there a fair amount of support for this happening? And how exactly did they express that support? Was the fairness issue something that they never even think of?
Well, so there was, I would say, about even split between parents concerned and then activists and students who were trying to push the trans agenda. That being said, all the people who were concerned were bringing up safety issues and violation of Title IX, et cetera, et cetera. The ones that were for it, all they would say is bigotry, bigotry, bigotry. And I'm sorry, but it's not. And they were trying to act like it's veiled bigotry. It's not. It's actual genuine concern. And if you want to talk about equity and equality, you're robbing from girls their motivation, their self-esteem, their ability to succeed in sports if you're letting, biological males compete at any level,
Well, I think we do know. And I think most of the listeners right now, they understand that. I think most Democrats understand that as well. It's unbelievable to me that this is still an issue. And, I'll use this example up in, this is like the Schaumburg area of Chicago, right? Conant was the high school. So, if you Google that right now, you'll see very, very little coverage of that in the legacy media. It's like the TV stations in Chicago, ESPN, the sports media. They don't cover these stories at all. You have to actually dig and find the audio. You have to hope for conservative media or Twitter to expose this stuff, because the legacy media treats this as if it's not even a story, which is just stunning to me, especially because a majority of their viewers agree with our side of this. But they're so afraid because of these young woke kids who are working in these newsrooms to offend anyone. They don't even cover the story, John.
Well, that's correct. And not only that, though, and I hate to play this card, but I've been running in this race since February, and the only media that has reached out has been since the volleyball incident. But they all talk about Stratton and Krishnamurti nonstop. So they're getting all this free media, and it's like they're rooting for the left. And I'm sorry, I hate to say it, that there's a little bit of bias there.
Well, there's a lot of bias there, and they're definitely rooting for the left. There's no doubt about that. John Goodman, I really apologize for the name kerfuffle there. We won't do that again, but thanks for jumping on here on 97.1 FM Talk. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, take care. Audio cut of the day is coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've had an interesting commute. It was a little bit busy earlier, but now it's fine. In fact, westbound 70 looks great out of downtown. 64, a little bit slow at Hampton. Eastbound is slowing at the inner belt. And southbound 270 is all but thinned out. It's slowing right at 44. And other than that, we're good, with the exception of a slowdown on the Illinois side. Eastbound 64 between 157 and 159. This report brought to you by Infinite Vitality. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tired of aging skin? Infinite Vitality reverses collagen loss, tightens with Morpheus and microneedling, and fades age spots. Look naturally younger, not plastic. Visit infinite-vitality.com. Mention Annie for a $50 credit.
Well, you got a couple of big legendary companies in this country. One of them is celebrating 100 years in business. That's Pella. The other is James Hardie, and they have this great product called James Hardie Fiber Cement Siding. Both those companies, the best in their particular areas in the entire country. I mean, when it comes to quality, premium windows and premium siding, and they put their trust in Banner Construction right here in the St. Louis area. Banner's been around since 1993. They celebrated a great 30th anniversary a couple years ago. And if you're looking for a high-end solution and you want to make sure that you don't cut corners, because that can really result in devastating results. I've told this story before. I was at a lunch with the team from Banner They were talking about a customer that had to call them into the rescue because somebody else, a different company, had screwed up a James Hardie siding project. That doesn't happen. Are you going to have hiccups? Sure, you might have hiccups, but Banner Construction is going to take great care of you. If you go to their website right now, you can read a little bit about the company. You can see the showcase, which has some homes that have been transformed in the area. There's the James Hardie Siding blog or tab where you can see a flyover and some videos of what the product is all about and how your house can be, your house, in fact, can be transformed with low maintenance, an outstanding warranty, durability, great ROI. It's going to look like the best looking house in the neighborhood. You get started today by calling 314-569-1050. The website, bannerconstruction.com.
Mark Cox here. Join us live Thursday, September 11th at Chicken Ellie's in Eureka as we support Focus Marines Foundation. They're helping post 9/11 veterans transition to civilian life. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Insurance companies often have a basic strategy: delay, deny, defend. Some try to grind you down, but they have another tremendous weapon, a software called Colossus. They know which attorneys are great and which are not so great. They know who is likely to take the last offer and who will take them by their scalp, kicking and screaming to trial. They know that they have to pay some firms early and fairly. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. The insurance companies have done their homework. Before you hire a lawyer for your injury case, do yours. Visit forthepeople.com and see our settlements and verdicts for cases like yours. We became the largest injury firm in the world for a reason. When you hire the wrong firm, you may be beat before you start. All law firms are not the same. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
I got a couple of things here for audio cut of the day. One of them is tennis related. I thought Sue might find this interesting, so let's do this here.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
So the U.S. Open is getting underway. You mentioned, I think it was on Friday, you're a fan of Yannick Sinner, who is one of the top men's player. I don't know how you feel about Daniil Medvedev, who is a popular player, one of the best on tour, but he is a hothead.
Yes.
And what happened last night, I don't even know if I understand this completely. He won the U.S. Open in 2021. He lost another final 2 years later. This time, he got the crowd at Louis Armstrong Stadium into a frenzy because the guy that he was playing, Benjamin Bonzi, was given a first serve when a photographer, this poor guy, the photographer, I think he's been booted from the arena, enters the court during the match while he's up match point. So the Medvedev didn't like the fact that he was awarded first serve, which means that if I interpret this correctly, in other words, I don't know if he had the first serve already and he was able to do it over because of the photographer. So Greg Allensworth, I'm going to be honest with you. I've read several stories about this. I've seen some coverage. I'm still, and I'm a fan of tennis and I see these guys. I'm still a little concerned, or not concerned, but confused by what happens. So he starts going at the umpire, Greg Allensworth, for the decision.
Never a good plan.
No, he questions his professionalism. He just starts shouting. He starts shouting at the, in the microphone at the umpire.
Wait, please, not now. Get off the court, please.
He's telling the photographer get off the court.
Had just first serve to the court. Ladies and gentlemen, because of the delay caused by an outside interference. Getting the first serve and that Medvedev's going to have a word.
Yeah, so he doesn't like that at all.
Medvedev encouraging the crowd right now to keep booing.
He wants to go home, guys. He doesn't like to be here. He gets paid by the match, not by the hour.
Oh, come on.
He's like, and then he said, he says he gets paid by the match, not by the hour. And then he starts, and this was confusing to me. I think I've figured this part of it out. Riley Opelka was right. What did Riley Opelka say? He's shouting that into the camera. What apparently, and I don't know, I think that's another player that said this guy, Allensworth, shouldn't have a job or should be sidelined for about 4 weeks, maybe learn a thing or two, because Opelka was penalized for swearing at a spectator at the Dallas Open. So Bonzi, in this particular case, asked for Medvedev to be penalized, even though he said there was no ill will. And, the crowd was going crazy. They were kind of on Medvedev's side in all of this. But I don't know about you, but I kind of like it when tennis gets a little
a little spicy.
Yeah.
Well, is he's the Russian McEnroe? Is that what you're essentially
sort
saying?
of, yeah, sort of. And I think at the I think what happened, one of them broke a racket too.
Of course. Venus plays tonight at 6, and that's what I want to see.
Yeah,
she's at Arthur Ashe.
You said, and that's one of the bigger venues, right? Because they have a bunch of different venues there. Arthur Ashe is the big one. So that was kind of interesting. I'm sure that if you're watching that match tonight, they may cover that. This will be another one of our audio cuts of the day because it features our friend Will Scharf from right here in Missouri, and a controversial topic. So this is an executive order about flag burning with Trump.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You could do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. You can... But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it.
Well, I do believe, as reprehensible as it is, that burning the flag is a freedom of speech issue. However, I do hear some nuance in all of that because he seems to be, taking it into the direction of incitement of violence.
Yeah, that's weird.
But we'll see. Will Scharf's a very smart attorney. Pam Bondi's a very smart attorney. Our own Ilya Shapiro will be here tomorrow. He's a very smart attorney. He calls it like he sees them on these constitutional issues. He will be with us in the 5 o'clock hour. Congresswoman Ann Wagner at 3:18. Sue, enjoy the U.S. Open tonight.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
I'll tell you what, on the roads, it really hasn't been bad here in the last part of the commute. But if you're on the Illinois side, eastbound 64 slowing at 159. We've got eastbound 64 slowing on the Missouri side, 170 through Big Bend. Westbound, though, has all but thinned out. There's a little moderate volume headed for Winghaven, but that's it. And 55 looks great at this hour. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door has the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs, and it's in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Have you been notified that your subsidy for Obamacare health insurance is going away? Well, you can leave now while you're still healthy and qualify for much